All right, let's call this meeting to order again at 6:58. And did you stop the timer?
We agreed it was like 2:30.
Okay.
Yeah, that's about right.
Continue, please.
Kathleen, at the last meeting, we could clearly hear Barry and Daryl give their presentation. We could not hear you. Thank you. Sorry. We could not hear you or John or David. Pam arrived and silently held up a sign informing this board we couldn't hear you. David and John started using their microphones. You decided either to turn off your microphone or to lean so far back it was useless. Please explain why your response to being informed we couldn't hear you was to guarantee we couldn't hear you. To all of you, I ask you again to turn on your mics and leave them on and sit forward when you want to speak so the microphone is in range. Kathleen, at the last meeting you said MAGA was real. I'm assuming you were talking about me. If you mean it's MAGA to ask our elected officials to have honor and integrity and to be honest and transparent, then you go right ahead and call me MAGA. Some would say that blocking residents' access to information, gaslighting residents, and refusing to answer basic questions is MAGA. Kathleen, did you let the Parks Director know that you plan to pull an item from consent tonight so she could be here to help clarify answers for the board? And lastly, I will note that it was potentially our future trustee who once again shows she's willing to interfere with public comment, who was loudly interfering with public comment tonight.
Thanks, Rob.
That's Mary Gillis by name.
Thank you, Rob.
Thank you.
Anyone else present would like to speak, come up to the table.
Hi, I'm Marcia Haddix, Township resident.
Hi, Marcia.
I just wanted to say I strongly agree with the Supervisor Carey's opening statement. I mean, we just have to do better than these meetings are going in the wrong direction. There were no meeting recordings nor minutes for the 2 MTC meetings last week, and I know there now is a recording of one of them on, but we also need to have a better job done, whether we need that IT person to be hired for getting mics to work, recordings to work, minutes on time so people can be informed about things. And I hope the recommendation tonight from the Multimodal Transit Committee to the board is like the draft presented earlier. Number 1, to keep the ATA and WAVE service as is through September 2027 while MTC develops a new plan to serve residents, and also that the board will continue to support public transit in Scio Township and review long-term alternative funding sources, and that possibly even the board could consider an increase of the transportation millage in 2028. It's very disappointing that items are not included on the agenda by noon on Tuesday, specifically the communications received and 04, the MTC recommendation did not have anything added by today, and it makes it very difficult for the public to follow these items on the agenda. Sometimes the board gets hard copy right before the meeting, but the residents have no idea what is being discussed. And I also wanted to say we just need more fiscal responsibility from this board. Paying for a sheriff who isn't really needed without authorization, that's now cost more than twice as much as the original authorization, is just inexcusable. We need to do better on that. And as far as public comments addressed to the board, they can be addressed to the board, but can be about any board issues, which sometimes involve individuals on the board. So I don't find anything incongruous with that about mentioning things that individual board members do while addressing public comments to the board. And also previously, residents were told that no one in the audience can make comments during meetings unless at public comments. And we either need to follow that rule or we need to get a new rule which allows residents to interrupt whenever they want to on items of their choice, but inconsistently. So I'd also just like to encourage you to please do the jobs you were elected to do. I know I've said this before. Everybody wants to make Scio the best it can be, and wasting money, wasting time at these meetings, the infighting, the poor behavior is just it's beyond embarrassing. Parts of it, may even be illegal, but we just have to do a better job. We're all humans, and it just would be nice if people could be more respectful of each other and follow the rules of the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Marcia. Anyone else present, please come to the table. Okay. Christy?
Yep. First up is Mark Altamari, followed by Tracy B. Go ahead, Mark.
Okay, unmute. You got me?
Yep.
All right. Good evening, Mark Altamari, Scio, resident and write-in candidate for the trustee in the November general election. First, I want to say I had no prior knowledge that Supervisor Carey would make her opening statement, but I would like to applaud her for making it. And now my comments, prepared well in advance of her statement and the events that have transpired so far this evening. Wow, what timing. My comment, I am continuing this campaign to ensure that Scio Township voters have a meaningful choice in the general election and a candidate willing to address the board dysfunction that remains unresolved. In the board meeting on August 11th, I read aloud a letter I previously sent to the board regarding the email Supervisor Carey read into the record, which revealed correspondence between a private citizen and various members of the board. Having gotten no response to my letter, I called on the entire board to acknowledge the apparent violations to its own code of conduct described in the email. At this moment, the only official response I have received is a statement by Supervisor Carey that she agrees the matter should be investigated. In her response to public comments that night, Trustee Brandt made a vague statement about, quote, other people not yet accepting the outcome of the election as evidenced by all of the conspiracy theory talk we have heard tonight, unquote. For the record, I never questioned the outcome of the primary election. I congratulated Mary on her victory shortly after the results came in. I congratulated her again at the top of my public comments to the board on the 11th. Since then, I've heard other remarks questioning my decision to run a write-in campaign and whether I should accept the winner of the primary as the de facto winner of the general election as has been the practical reality in Scio Township. Yes, the chances of winning a write-in campaign are very small. Frankly, given the circumstances, so were my odds of winning the primary. That is not the point. The point is that more than 2,300 residents who had never heard my name spoken or seen it in print before April voted for me in August. Those people voted for me with great intention. They had to go out of their way to learn who I am and what I stand for. Very few people, if any, randomly checked my name on the ballot. The main issue I campaigned on was, and remains obviously, the dysfunction on the board and in Township Hall. This issue underpins many of the other opportunities and challenges facing the board. It is widely recognized by residents, local observers, and public officials, including U.S. Rep. Debbie Dingell, State Rep. Carrie Reingans, State Rep. Jennifer Conlon, State Senator Sue Schenck, and Washtenaw County Commissioner Jason Majewski, all of whom I have discussed this privately. The editors of the Sun-Times News asked Mary and me, quote, question, the Scio Township Board and leadership have been rife with division and conflict for the past several years. What will you do to bring sides together and return the focus to governing? Mary's answer was basically, and I'll paraphrase, that makes for good headlines, but it's superficial conflict. The people who voted for me don't believe that. Frankly, I can't see how anyone watching this meeting could believe that. These people want to have an option to vote for someone who recognizes the situation and promises to address it. As a Democrat and one who fights for democratic values, I am not disputing the outcome of the primary election. I am embracing the idea that all residents in Scio Township deserve the right to make a choice in the general election, no matter what the odds are. I have also read concerns about the impartiality of Scio News because individuals on its editorial board supported my candidacy. For transparency, I want to state the following. Their support of my campaign is disclosed in my campaign finance report, including cash and in-kind contributions. I have no relationship with Scio News other than as a reader, and I have no knowledge or input into its content before publication. Likewise, the editors have no input into the content on my website or my campaign message. Jonathan Greenberg built the website. I write the words. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
Anyone else online?
Yes.
Hands up.
Next up is Tracy B, followed by Pam Boyd. Go ahead, Tracy.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Hi, Tracy.
So I have a couple of questions, maybe observations, things that I'm uncertain about that have to do with public comment, board response, and general communications board. If we're not supposed, or if it's frowned upon, to ask questions of specific trustees or about actions that specific trustees have taken, how and when are we supposed to get those answers? I understand there's a board response period, but my observation has been that not all of the questions put forth by the public are answered. You know, some examples are FOIAs being processed. That's been brought up in public communication and public comments. Haven't gotten a real answer. What was the impetus and what was the outcome of the request for detailed invoices regarding Supervisor Carey's lawsuit? What happened with the approval and how did the approvals come for additional money for a sheriff attending meetings? Those are just a couple of things. So I sit here as a citizen wanting to participate, wondering what's the best way for me to communicate in a way that will get me answers. I thought, well, maybe I could write a note or a letter or a comment to the board, either individuals or as a whole. I might want private answers, but I've noticed in a few board packets over the last couple of months that emails that requested they remain private were included in the communications. So my question, which is bordering on a concern, is how do I, as a citizen and someone who follows the board meetings, either in real time via Zoom or afterwards on YouTube, how do I communicate my concerns, my questions, and expect a decent answer or a response or some kind of acknowledgement that what I'm bringing forward matters, that the board considers it, and that someone understands my position or my concern enough to do me the respect of replying. So at its base, my questions are procedural. How, as a citizen, is the best way for me to reach and communicate two ways with individuals or the whole board? So you can choose to answer or think about it and maybe procedures, but my observations have been such that I'm hesitant to comment because I'm not quite sure that my comment will be heard, respected, dealt with, and I don't like being in that position because I want to be an involved citizen. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tracy.
Anyone else online?
Yes.
With your hands up.
Pam Boyd is next. Go ahead, Pam.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes. Hi, Pam.
Pam Boyd, a Scio resident. I think the actions by some tonight show that a sergeant at arms is a very necessary thing for this township. I'm appalled at the behavior in the audience of the person running for trustee tonight. This board now and in November is supposed to work for the whole of the township residents, even ones you don't agree with. But the behavior tonight is very partisan. And I think that that's a very bad way to start or behave on this board. Thank you.
Thanks, Pam.
Thank you, Pam. Hands up.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak at public comment? Please raise your Zoom hand. And there are no hands raised.
Okay, thank you. So now it's time for a board response, and we begin with trustee Reiser, if you have anything.
Actually, I think
I went first last meeting,
Yeah.
so I think it's,
Did you, when,
Yeah, supervisor.
at the workshop,
yeah,
or the work session?
yes, ma'am.
You were
Last
there?
Tuesday. I was
Yeah.
there, on time.
All right. Okay, board response. Tracy, you had some questions. My legal fees, they are online with the State of Michigan Bureau of Elections. I just submitted the last quarter. There's 79 pages for everyone to review. Yeah, so there's that. There was something about addressing the board and not the individual. That was never my rule, and I've never said that, except when one person pointed out to me that I needed to do that to her. But anyways, I was elected. You can say whatever you want about me short of threats. I don't care. You can like me, you don't have to. You can say what you want, but it's your First Amendment right, and that is more important to me than your opinion. Anyways, I wanted to make that clear. And there was something else. Tracy, I think you had your questions about emails. Emails to the board, the whole board, are supposed to be public when you email the whole board and they go into the correspondence. Supposed to. So if you email us individually, then we could answer you individually from our individual perspectives, of course, because there's 7 of us and we all have our own opinions about things. So I think that would be the procedure. Here at the board meeting, we're here to do the business, and residents can come up and during public comments and ask us questions, but we don't have to answer them at the meeting. I know as a resident, that used to bother me as well. But so hopefully that answered your questions, and you're more than happy, or I am more than happy to receive your emails, and I will answer. And I think that is it. One more thing. Yeah, the rules of order. The moderator, again, the supervisor is elected, and one of the statutory duties is to moderate the board. I can't change that. You can't change that. You can only remove or vote in the supervisor. So, anyways, leaving it at that. I don't see anything else that I wanted to address. And who is next? Treasurer Yapel.
Thank you, Madam Supervisor. 04, the Multimodal Transportation Committee did not meet until Thursday after the agenda was approved and published. So after hearing from members of the public and some of my colleagues here on the board over the last several months, I did not want to include what the committee came up with. It is over there on the table along with the agendas, but I did not want to republish that agenda packet and receive, public comment about how folks were upset the agenda updated. I apologize due to the timing of the meetings. It was important to have this because it is timely and the contract renewal is coming up quickly. So I did want to make sure that we discussed it this evening because the committee did a lot of great work over the last several months, and we've heard from a lot of the members of the public. Some of you here, some of you who are not here this evening. The question on the newsletter. I will definitely engage some of my colleagues on the committee, maybe the folks from the Scio Bus Alliance, to help with a newsletter, article here for the fall newsletter that's going to come out a little bit later this year. Over the summer, we've been very busy implementing a bunch of new technology that this board voted and approved, and also getting caught up on a few other projects. So apologies, I wasn't able to get that newsletter into the summer, or the article into the summer issue. I agree with Supervisor Carey on how does the citizen get questions answered. Reaching out individually to board members is great. Those of us here at Township Hall have direct phone numbers where if you call our main number, you can be transferred to our voicemail or email us individually. Those emails generally do not go into the board packet unless they're specifically requested. Thank you to the residents that's spoken in support of setting 05 aside. I have serious concerns about its legal implications. I do not believe it's been reviewed by the township attorney, the township insurer, township HR, or the Washington County Sheriff's Office. We'll discuss that in the future, I suppose. The recordings and meetings were posted today. We do not have enough adequately qualified trained staff. Myself being somebody who's trying to help out, I apologize that I didn't realize that those were not published. So I'm going to work, and I'll have further information reports on how we're going to make sure those are published on a timely basis going forward. One last thing, the question on the money from the county, the DDA distribution was finished earlier this week. I expect the checks to get out in the mail soon. This week, perfect. I'm also going to meet with the director of the senior center at Peckerell Thursday afternoon, and we're also going to meet with the interim county administrator, Derek Jackson, to see when we can get on the agenda and hopefully get that funds from the county commissioners. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Next up would be Clerk Quintal.
I'll save most of my updates for the report on the issues raised. I don't want to turn this into reports. So thank you.
Sorry.
That wasn't aimed at you, Ryan, and just generally. We have a long agenda ahead.
All right, Trustee Brandt.
Yes. At the, not last meeting, but the meeting prior to that, there was a new rule formulated by the supervisor that we cannot pull items off consent in advance. That was a whole new made-up rule. So I don't agree with that rule, but I guess we'll just have to change the rules so that we can pull things in advance. Regarding the meeting where it was alleged that I could not be heard, I suggest that all the members of the audience go and watch that recording. And clearly, you can clearly hear all of my comments. I did it myself, I look back. And there was also a false accusation that I turned my microphone off and leaned back. If that happened, how come my comments were so clear? One might say that this is evidence of misogyny. When two gentlemen do not turn their microphones on and a woman takes the heat for it. I don't know what else you would call it. Regarding the newsletter, articles are submitted to the newsletter, and the newsletter is approved by this board. The content falls to the board. I guess that's all I want to say, other than I find the gavel to be very threatening. It is a weapon. Thank you.
Trustee Noel.
Thank you.
Trustee Noel.
No, I was thinking,
Oh, I didn't see that. Trustee Noel, do you have anything?
Yes, I do. I have a few things.
Okay, go ahead.
I want to reiterate that the supervisor does have a statutory duty to moderate the board meeting. Several comments were made tonight about board meeting dysfunction and our last board meeting, and I agree. It was bad. It was really bad. I've rewatched the meeting, and it was painful to watch. On the issue of board dysfunction, this board has hired an outside consulting firm, Humanergy, to conduct interviews and make some suggestions to the organization. Also, our operations director, Clark, had scheduled a conflict resolution session for board members. It was to be facilitated by the Dispute Resolution Center, a moderator, a trained moderator. It was scheduled for last Thursday. 6 had responded that they could attend. John Reiser wasn't sure, so we weren't expecting him. When I got here for the meeting, there were only 3 board members here, myself included. 3 of the board members who had said they would attend, and I had hoped engage in meaningful discussion regarding dispute resolution didn't show up. So no explanation has been offered yet as to why they didn't show up, but I'm asking tonight to hear from them. I did ask Ryan, because he was present in the office, so when three of us, continued to have the meeting, we went through training exercises and discussed ideas. When the meeting was over, I went out into the office area of the township hall. Ryan was there, and I asked him why he wasn't in attendance. And he gave me a vague answer. So he did give me a partial answer, but I'm still not clear why he wasn't there. So I'll leave it at that, and I hope to hear from these three board members. I think they had an obligation to participate, and at least if they weren't going to participate, out of basic respect for fellow board members, to let them know in advance. But none of that happened. Thank you.
Trustee Reed, do you have anything? Board response? Or public comment response?
I just have a response for the multimodal agenda item tonight. We did have a report from one of our members that spelled out some very specific costs and some very specific results of those costs. And that report was available end of last week. And as early as this morning at 10 o'clock, we were posting things to the agenda. So I'm kind of disappointed that that report did not get in tonight's agenda. I understand it's over there on the table, but I would hope that it could be added to this agenda so that it would be on the system for all residents to see theoretically, and at least for the next couple of years, not necessarily in perpetuity, but for a while. But I think it's real important that people see the numbers and see the result of those numbers if we were to reduce service, which I certainly hope we don't. I mean, it's on for board tonight, and I would hope that our resolution passes, and that's all.
Trustee Reiser, do you have a response to public comments?
Yeah. Everyone, whether online or in this hall, has the right to public comment, to say what they will, and they can be as mean as they want or as gracious as they want. But I would just point out that sometimes when members of the public, residents, and members at this table are critical of each other or supportive of each other such that it's kind of really a criticism of somebody else. The praising and the criticism which we all have every right to do, sometimes impacts kind of the mood. It sets the tone for a meeting. So just be mindful, and I'm guilty of this point, try to keep it polite. I apologize to Rob for my smart-ass comment, but try to keep it polite because I think it makes for a better meeting for everybody. We're supposed to have everything done in 3 hours. We're an hour and a half in and we haven't got any of the big stuff. So just be mindful how words can hurt and affect the tone, even though you have every right to say them, whether in the hall or online. Thank you.
Thanks, John. Thank you, John. Okay. Approval of the minutes. Possible action, approval of minutes of the August 18, 2026 Board of Trustees regular meeting, which was our work session.
I have them in front of me, and I would move the approval of the August 18th Scio Township Board of Trustees special meeting minutes.
Support.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Minutes of the August 18th, 2026 Board of Trustees regular meeting are approved. Thank you. Consent agenda. Oh, sorry.
I would move the consent agenda as we have modified it.
Support. Which we, just to be clear, pulled K1, K6, and we included L3, the fire chief report. Okay, all in favor say aye. Aye. Consent agenda is adopted as amended. Okay, on to regular reports. Treasurer Yapel, would you like to begin with your investment report?
We certainly can. I would just move the investment report has been submitted as required by law once every quarter. This quarter ends on July the 31st, and it's the various funds of the township: water, sewer, general fund, parks, and I'm sure I'm forgetting a few because the attachment won't open. My internet's just, oh, there it goes. So everything is here, and Deputy Treasurer Foster assisted with the preparation. I'd like to submit it, and I motion to approve it as presented. Thank you.
All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Thank
now
you.
we get back to, thank you. Do you have another report?
I have just two small things. To answer the question that came up during board response, I'll make it clear this evening, there is not enough staff here at Township Hall to accomplish all of our work. I was assisting with 3 separate projects during the time of that training that had time-critical deadlines, including the Lock Alpine Sanitary Authority audit, which began this Monday, yesterday, the 24th, ADP's implementation, and my statutory duties as treasurer. I would have loved to participate in the training. I did inform Director Clark of my time constraints and inability to attend, regrettably, just before the training started. But as part of that, I make a motion this evening to direct the HR manager to prioritize posting, recruitment, interviewing, and presenting conditional job offers to the Board of Trustees for the previously budgeted and currently vacant authorized positions of utility field technician and administrative services clerk general.
Point of order, should that be under
No,
new business?
No, that belongs under the operations director.
It's a properly made motion.
It is, but it's made, well,
I mean,
but it's under reports rather than new business.
Right.
I reckon you should have. It's there, not,
Okay,
I don't know what to say, John.
Well, I guess, it should have been included as an agenda item, and it wasn't, and we've already adopted the agenda.
So the motion, Ryan, support by Reed. Would you please read it again, Ryan, so I can get it?
Yep, and
recorded?
I can provide you the text
Okay.
after this meeting as well. Motion to direct the HR manager to prioritize posting, recruitment, interviewing, and presenting conditional job offers to the Board of Trustees for the previously budgeted and currently vacant authorized positions of utility field technician and administrative services clerk general. I guess quickly to expand upon this, the reason I'm making this motion tonight and now is we've been understaffed. These positions were approved and budgeted for back when the board adopted its budget in March of this year. The conditions and the amount of work here continue to pile up, as others on the board have noted this evening. And we need to have some relief to the entire organization. And this has become dramatically urgent. I understand that there's other people involved, and certainly I don't want to step, even it might be perceived, on anyone's toes. I do not mean that by this. These positions were budgeted and authorized before we hired Director Clark or our current HR manager. I feel like this is the right thing to do to right the organization and make sure that we can get the work that we need done. Thanks.
All right, discussion.
Do you want to go in order?
Yeah, I'll begin. So the operations director has a contract and also a job description, and that contract states that there's certain positions that report to the operations director, one of them being the HR director. So by us instructing a staff member that's under operations director, we are violating the chain of commands. And we just had a meeting with all staff about chain of commands. And now we are doing exactly the opposite of what we're trying to tell our staff to do. This was not brought forward as an agenda item, and Operations Director Clark is not here. You remove the Sergeant of Arms because he's not here. I am going to vote against this because if he was here, then we could have a discussion with him. All right, Treasurer, well, you've already said.
Yep, thank you.
Clerk Flintoff.
I support this. I'll just remind the board that the HR manager generally for open positions that are budgeted, generally as a matter of course, doesn't, require any board direction on it. It's just something that's done. Certainly, the positions would report to the operations director. We know how long recruitment takes. It can take 2 to 3 months. I agree with Ryan that the open utility field tech and the administrative clerk, we were able to just approve a conditional offer for the utility director at the last meeting. These are the other 2 currently vacant budgeted positions. And while certainly the operations director and HR manager are responsible for implementation of the recruitment and supervision, it's the board who sets the policy, and we set these positions. I will say is with Ryan, we are here usually 50 to 60 hours a week. And that's not just election time. Election time was 7 days a week. And so I will just say we have so many of the complaints from the colleagues that don't work that much and from some of the public is understaffing. And we recognize that at the last budget season. I think it's appropriate for the board to just ask that it be prioritized. I like your language that you say prioritize, Ryan, along with all of the other priorities. So kind of on whatever timeline makes sense for their workload. Thank you.
Trustee Brandt.
Yes, this item I think is appropriate, especially considering our HR manager is newly on site, so this is just a reminder for her to take action. I think it's important that we fill these positions, so it's totally appropriate to get some action on this. Thank you.
Trustee Noel.
I will not be supporting this. Clark should be the one to oversee these directions and set the final priorities. He is the person responsible for doing this. By directing our HR person to prioritize this, you're essentially going around Clark. And remember, we talked about staying in our own lane and getting out of the way so he can do his job. And remember how we talked about how he needs time to evaluate the organization? We're still awaiting his initial report on issues that he sees within this organization. It's premature to prioritize this at this time and ask our HR person to prioritize it. Clark isn't even here tonight to participate in this discussion. This makes no sense, so I will not be supporting it.
Trustee Reed.
Let me open by saying I apologize to Director Clark. I should not have seconded this motion because, as previously mentioned, this goes around the chain of command. This is clearly in his ballpark, and I will not be supporting this as well. But there are also a couple of positions missing in that prioritization, and I think there are 2 positions missing in the finance department. So I think there's more than just utilities that needs help. So when Clark is back, I think we can sit down and give him a list of like 5 or 6 positions that probably need to be filled within Township Hall. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Reiser.
I don't like that this wasn't in the packet, and I don't like that I don't have it in front of me. I'm sorry. Could you please read it again? My apologies.
Oh, no, absolutely. Motion to direct the HR manager to prioritize posting, recruitment, interviewing, and presenting conditional job offers to the Board of Trustees for the previously budgeted and currently vacant authorized positions of utility field technician and administrative services clerk general.
Would you accept a friendly amendment motion to direct the Director of Operations to work with the HR manager to all the following? So in other words, we're directing Clark to do it, who's gonna work with the HR, his subordinate employee.
Yeah,
Would you accept that?
I
In other
would
words,
accept that.
We're not telling her what to do. We're asking Clark to work on this.
And
Now,
he's already been asked by individual board members behind.
Hold on, I
The board.
accept that as a second.
okay, so I'm, because I'm really concerned about the chain of command meeting and like, we direct Clark and Clark gets it done.
That makes sense.
Yep, I'm okay with that.
I'll support that. I mean, anyways.
So to direct the, is the friendly amendment to direct, not the HR manager, but, excuse me, not the HR manager, but to direct the operations director?
That's right, in coordination or
Sure, with,
through the HR director. In other words.
sure.
And then there might be other positions that should be friendly from the amendment it did as well, such as finance. But I mean, I don't know, Ryan, it was your motion, but David, I thought, brought up good points about other key positions that are needed, we gotta jump on as well.
And I have an update in that on my reports too.
Yeah, but this motion is before us now instead of under what's called new business.
Understood.
It shouldn't be. Can I make a comment, Jillian?
Yes, trustee Noel.
I would like to give Clark an opportunity to finish his initial comprehensive report so that he can look at the total picture of the organization by inserting a few, maybe 4 or 5, I don't know, potential jobs that could be filled and making them priorities. We're still sidestepping him. I want to give him an opportunity to do the job that we hired him to do. And he's not here tonight to give us input. Could we wait on this until the next meeting so that there's an opportunity to discuss it with him? I mean, this is thrown on at the last minute. Why we've spent this much time on it, I don't know, I don't understand, but I think it's prudent to wait, discuss it with him, and let him bring forth his recommendations in a comprehensive fashion, not bits and pieces that we interject and give him to do out of sequence. It's not the sequence he had proposed, and we had agreed to give him time to do his comprehensive report. We had agreed to give him time to do his job and to stay out of his way. By interjecting ourselves in it, it defeats the whole purpose.
Okay, Clerk Flintoff?
Yeah, I don't think any of this conflicts with the comprehensive evaluation. These 2 positions are vacant. I don't think anybody thinks we need 3 utility field techs instead of 4. I think we all agree we need 4. It's been vacant for quite some time. I don't think anybody debates that we don't need another administrative clerk. We deliberated on that ad nauseum. In terms of rush, this was April 1st, Kathy. Typically, this is something we do normally regarding the update on finance, the finance assistant position that the board approved in June. Recruitment, first round interviews have been completed. Second round interviews are later this week in consultation first with Aurora and now with our new HR manager. And so I would just say, I don't think that this interferes. I think it's just part of it. Again, it's going to take months. I like the friendly amendment of operations director through the HR director, or whoever, HR manager, excuse me. And it's really to prioritize it. We know how long recruitment takes, and I believe it's the board's responsibility to set the policy priorities. And these are, I can attest, critically needed positions.
Okay.
Point of order. Do our rules allow us to bring up motions, this type of thing, anytime in the middle of the agenda, in the middle of reports, whenever?
No.
Because I see here in our rules of order, it says, items that board members anticipate bringing to the meeting should be distributed to the board via email as soon as possible and submitted to the designee preparing the proposed agenda for publication as appropriate. Late arriving items are discouraged. Those are our rules. And this has popped up within the last 15 minutes. It's not on the agenda. We have nothing in writing. And it's in the middle of reports, not even on new business. So I think it's totally inappropriate, and I move to table.
Okay, well, one other thing, 4.6, adoption of the agenda. All changes to the proposed agenda shall be brought under the standing item adoption of the agenda. If any board member demands to remove items from the consent, the supervisor, blah, blah, blah. Other suggested changes to the proposed agenda, such as adding or removing items, changing items from discussion only to possible action or vice versa, or otherwise make substantial changes to the agenda items require a majority of the vote. We adopted the agenda. This was not part of adoption of the agenda. I'm opposed to this. This is not only just a breach of our rules of order again, but it's also a violation of the chain of commands. We hired Operations Director Clark to perform a job, and we are going behind his back. So let's move to vote. We have.
I support Trustee Reed's motion to table.
There was already a motion on the table.
But the motion
Motion to table supersedes.
Ah, that's true. Okay. Roll call vote, please.
A motion to table by Reed, support by Reiser. Carrie?
Yes, to table.
Yeaple?
No.
Flintoff, no. Brandt?
No.
Noel?
Yes.
Reed?
Yes.
Reiser?
Yes.
Okay, motion to table adopted.
Okay, so we are back to reports. I do have a report. Supervisor here. First of all, I attended with Clark the Police Services Steering Committee, and it is a committee where the contracting partners, some of the contracting partners, were invited to join with the Board of Commissioners and the Sheriff Department. Well, the Sheriff is involved, the Sheriff Department. And we attended the last one, and at the request of the board, I asked for Scio Township to have a seat at the table. I was welcome by everybody. And what's her name? The chair, Katie Scott, said that she would take it back to the Board of Commissioners, and I just recently found out that she did not do that, but we do not have a seat at the table. I called our rep, Jason M. Yes, and left a message with him. He has not called me back. So that's where we are. Clark and I will attend the next one, and I will speak during public comments again. We are the third largest contracting partner with the Sheriff Department. We should have a seat at the table. Agreed. Okay, not only that, so that was one part of my report. I am presenting to the Board of Trustees a formal notice of objection and request for corrective action. This board just said, clerk and treasurer, that we are short-staffed, that they are working 50, 60 hours a week, and so am I. It may not be with what they want, but I am. So regarding the supervisor's compensation, this has to do with the local officers compensation commission, which we have a compensation commission that meets on, the board approved that, and they meet on odd even years. I am submitting this formal notice of objection and request for corrective action for inclusion in the official record concerning my compensation as township supervisor. The local officers compensation commission, we will call it the LOCC from here on out, salary determination, and the procedures followed when the board subsequently revisited that matter. 1. LOCC determination and February 25th vote. On February 19, 2025, the LOCC established the annual salary for the township supervisor at $82,500 effective April 1st, 2025. The township clerk received the determination on February 20th, 2025. Under MCL 41.95, an LOCC determination may be rejected by a resolution adopted by 2/3 vote of the members elected and serving on the township board. On February 25th, 2025, the board considered a resolution to reject the LOCC determination for the supervisor's salary, and that it would remain at $44,308 per year, and that the resolution would have no effect unless adopted by at least 5 board members. The vote was 4-2 with 1 absent member. Trustee Yapel and Brandt and Treasurer Yapel and Trustee Brandt voted in favor of the rejection. Because 5 affirmative votes were required, the resolution failed to accomplish a rejection of the $82,500 LOCC determination. This was not a failed vote to approve an $82,500 salary. It was a failed attempt to obtain the votes necessary to reject the LOCC's $82,500 determination. The board does not approve the recommendations. It can only reject by statute. Number 2, basis asserted for rejecting the LOCC determination. I also believe the board's stated rationale for rejecting the determination should be included in the official record. During the consideration of the supervisor's compensation, board members involved in the rejection characterized the supervisor position as part-time. They even attended the compensation commission meetings, encouraging the compensation members to not provide a salary increase for the supervisor, but for themselves. This characterization was cited as a reason for opposing the compensation commission's determination. At the same time, the township attorney repeatedly advised the board that elected township officials are not classified as either part-time or full-time employees. I believe this distinction is significant and should be reflected in the record because the characterization of the supervisor's position as part-time was relied upon in discussions concerning the appropriateness of the compensations established by the LOCC. Scio Township serves approximately 18,000 residents and it's growing. The current annual compensation for the township clerk is approximately $106,000, and the treasurer's annual compensation is approximately $96,000. I do not suggest that the offices must receive identical compensation. Rather, these figures provide relevant context when evaluating the responsibilities and compensation of the township's elected officials and the basis for treating the supervisor's position differently. My objection, therefore, includes the use of part-time characterization, and there was documentation that was falsely presented to the Compensation Commission, particularly where the township attorney had advised the board that elected officials are not classified as part-time or full-time. Number 3, change in board composition. After the February 25th vote, a trustee resigned. The board accepted the resignation and appointed David Reed to fill the vacancy. The same substantive compensation issue was subsequently brought back before the board after his composition had changed. The newly appointed trustee participated in the subsequent vote and voted in favor of rejecting the LOCC determination the same day that they were appointed. I believe this chronology is relevant to the official record because the board's initial attempt to reject the 82,500 determination failed to obtain the required 5 votes. After which the board's composition changed before the same substantive question was brought forward again. March 11th action and section 9.4 objection. On March 11, 2025, the board again considered a resolution to reject the same 82,500 determination. The matter was not included on the published agenda. The minutes state that Treasurer Yapel moved, supported by Trustee Brandt, to place the rejection resolution on the agenda. Township Attorney Jim Fink advised that the matter could be brought forward as a renewed motion because the board remained within the statutory 30-day period. The matter was subsequently placed under new business as item I-1 and passed 5-2. I recognize that the action was characterized as renewed motion. However, the substance of the March 11th action was to bring back before the board the same substantive question it had considered on February 25th, but on which the board had failed to obtain the 5 votes required by rejection. Section 9.4 of the 2022 Rules of Order, which were in effect at the time, provides motion to reconsider may be made at the time during the same meeting or at the first meeting held thereafter. The motion may be made only by a member who either voted with the prevailing side or did not vote. It may be seconded by any member. No question shall be reconsidered more than once, nor shall a vote be reconsidered be reconsidered. On February 25th, Yapel and Brandt voted in favor of the rejection resolution, which failed to obtain the required 5 votes. They therefore were not on the prevailing side of the vote. Nevertheless, March 11th action was initiated by Yapel and supported by Brandt. I therefore formally object that if the March 11 action constituted a reconsideration or substantive revisit of the February 25th questions, the board did not follow the reconsideration procedure established by section 9.4. The characterization of the action as a renewed motion does not by itself determine whether the action was a reconsideration. The statutory 30-day period and the board's separate procedural requirements are distinct issues. I request that the board identify and place on the record the legal and procedural authority upon the March 11th action that was brought forward, notwithstanding section 9.4. Compensation and corrective action requested. The LOCC determination established an annual salary of $82,500 effective April 1st, 2025, which is consistent with a township this size and with this taxable value. I provided the research for that and it was ignored. Not by the Compensation Commission, but by this board. But this board reviewed false material regarding part-time salary of a township supervisor. I am currently being paid $44,308, which is below the poverty level of Washtenaw County, a difference of $38,192 annually. I have not provided written consent to a reduction in my salary. I therefore formally object to the continued payments of $44,308 and request that the township establish the legal basis for the current salary and determine whether any compensation remains due. I request that the board, number 1, determine whether the March 11th resolution and constituted a valid rejection of the Compensation Commission's determination under MCL 41.95. 2, address my objection concerning compliance with section 9.4 of the 2022 Rules of Order. 3, provide a complete accounting of compensation paid to me from the applicable effective date. 4, determine and reconcile any compensation that may be due, including any legally recoverable interest or other amounts. 5, authorize corrective payments and payroll adjustments. And 6, ensure that future compensation matters involving elected officials are handled through a transparent, properly noticed, and consistently applied process. Let the minutes reflect that I formally object to the February 25th failure to obtain the 5 votes required to reject the $82,500. I object to the characterization of the supervisor position as part-time as a basis for opposing the Compensation Commission determination. despite the township attorney's repeated advice that elected officials are not classified as part-time or full-time. The disparity in compensation among the township's elected offices and the need for a consistent objective basis for those compensation decisions, the subsequent change in board composition, the March 11th action bringing the same substantive question back before the board, the absence of the March 11th matter from the published agenda, the characterization of the March 11th action as a renewed motion rather than proceeding under section 9.4 if reconsideration was required, the fact that the March 11th action was initiated by Yapel and supported by Brandt, both of whom had actively tried to influence the Compensation Commission and whom had voted on the non-prevailing side of the February 25th rejection. The continued payment of $44,308 rather than the $82,500 and the failure to provide a complete accounting and determination of any compensation owed. I further request that the minutes reflect that I have not consented in writing to a reduction in my salary, have formally requested corrective action, and reserve my right to seek any interest or other amounts that may be legally recoverable. I respectfully request that this formal notice of objection and request for corrective action be entered in its entirety into the official minutes. And also, I have a FOIA request requesting information regarding the February 25th and March 11th resolutions, all communications, text messages, emails between officials, human resources, staff, anybody, the recommendation of part-time, full-time, the supervisor, clerk, and treasurer, and their paperwork showing that part-time, full-time, all written legal advice memorandum from the township attorney, Jim Fink, all communications and records from March 11th. And there's more. And I expect this to be followed to the letter of the law with FOIA requests. And I have pointed it out in there. That needs to be included into the township or into the board packet. Thank you. All right, Clerk Flintoff, it's your turn for reports.
Thank you. Sure. Quick updates. First of all, on the election, I want to thank all of the election inspectors, clerk's assistants. Everybody was awesome. I should be getting the paychecks out for the election inspectors, I'm hoping by Friday. Thanks to our clerk's assistants who were working diligently for like the 45 days ahead of the election, especially Newton, Sherry, and Anna. Elections is a time when our incredible residents come and work very, very hard to pull it together to carry out everybody's right to vote. And people did vote. We had record-breaking turnout statewide, including in Scio Township, 46.27%. So that breaks the record not just of August 2022, but also August 2020. So way to go, Scio is the votingest jurisdiction in Washtenaw County. The city of Chelsea may have gotten us on this last one, but we consistently remain above Ann Arbor and the other jurisdictions. So I'm very proud of that. And it's really because of everybody's engagement and hard work. We're already hard at work preparing for the next election. The election commission we've established our 5 AV counting boards. I want to appreciate some of our residents who have brought to my attention, as most of you have heard, there's a pretty damning proposal that will be on the November ballot to amend the Constitution. It's called a voter ID. It's sort of a state-level SAVE Act. You may have heard being promoted in the U.S. Congress. It has come to the state of Michigan, and it would disenfranchise people, and not people evenly, people of low incomes, transgender people, married people, and people who are down on their luck. So I'll be bringing something to this board and expect to have a discussion and some board support in opposition to that. I want to thank the Washtenaw County Sheriff's Department for their increased presence around polling places. Sheriff Dyer and her team did an excellent job in coordination with Washtenaw County. More and more people are feeling relieved to see the Sheriff's Department visible instead of seeing ICE or any people open carrying or any of those other things we can see around election time. So thank you. I want to note on records, Shout out to Jess and Elka, our part-time records assistants that the board authorized. They have been moving through our files methodically. We now have most all of our minutes scanned. They just need to be proofed. And when I say minutes, I mean board, PC, Board of Review, and ZBA from as far back as we can go, as well as all of our planning and zoning permits. We continue to work with CTC on that technology, and we'll have it available internally to all township staff and then eventually searchable online so that residents can search for by parcel number or any address for the records as far as we have them. So a lot more work there. When I have a minute to catch my breath, we'll be coming to the board with a proposed retention policy schedule and also a proposal for a either full-time or at least hourly records assistance to assist with FOIA. As folks know, we have 5 times as many FOIA requests as we've had before. Many of the requests, taking a short amount of time, many taking a lot, many of them being appealed with or without basis. So certainly the board has never dedicated any staff to fulfill FOIA requests. We didn't need to. It just used to be something that the office coordinator or the clerk can handle. None of us can handle it. We continue to get criticized for being not having enough hours in the day. And so I brought a proposal for some technology to support, and we'll be bringing a proposal for some staff to support as well. The technology is going well. We've had 3 work sessions with Granicus for the records management portal, and there's a lot of configuration. Deputy Clerk Bryce Borland's awesome, jumping in, and the goal is to go live by mid-October. So we'll encourage folks to submit FOIA requests that way. They certainly don't have to, but by doing so, we'll be able to better bill for FOIAs and, more importantly, better route them through the organization when they require email searches, fire records, text messages, things like that. There'll also be a dashboard so people can see when one came in and stuff like that. So I'm excited about that. On finance, another big project we've been working on. As you know, the board authorized transition to ADP. The board assigned a team to work on that. Most of those people have showed up for the meetings. And we have been, with the gap in our HR manager, we have missed our HR manager. I'm so glad our new HR manager is here. She will be joining the team. There's a lot of configuration there. All of our handbook policies and fire union contracts all get programmed in there. I expect we will be going live by late September. And the reason we're doing that is then, and David probably knows this better than anybody, ADP will then be able to do calendar year 26 W-2s and 1099s for us. And then after that, we'll be adding in the time and attendance module as well. So that's going to be a big help and a big improvement for security for our employees, especially with their banking information. Regarding the finance department, as you know, there's 3 positions budgeted in the finance department: finance assistant, finance manager, and finance director. Last night, we all received a letter of resignation from our finance director, Nikki Timmons. HR manager, Juanita Moore, is reviewing it and taking appropriate next steps. I want to thank Juanita for that and want to let everybody know we'll be working on a smooth transition. And I want to thank Nikki for her service to the township. The finance manager, Trish Collier, want to give her a shout out. She has been the one person available in finance for the last couple of months and has been working very hard, and want to give her a special thanks. I appreciate that the board approved a finance assistant position the first meeting of June. We did first round, Aurora did the recruitment, first round interviews, and we'll be doing second round interviews with Juanita's guidance later this week. If we wind up having a recommended candidate, that candidate will come to the board at the September 8th meeting. Meanwhile, we've been putting the consulting resources to good use. Woodhill has been coming in once a week on Friday to do utility billing. which has been great. And Plant Moran, we've been meeting with 2 or 3 times a week, doing AP, payroll, benefits, audit prep, cleaning up books, all in coordination with Raymond, our auditor. In terms of the DDA distributions, that's part of cleaning up the books. They're now ready to go, and as Ryan said, we expect them to be out the door at the end of this week. So that will be good. Our Parks Fund, our Transit Fund, our Fire Fund will all be getting a boost in their bottom line there. Also regarding kind of a more comprehensive update for finance, I've been invited different members to, call me or come in and understand how finance works. I know there's some questions of the payment of the bills. Last time I had a chance to talk to David after that. I would again invite my colleagues, if you have questions about how things work, give a call or stop by. Ryan and I've certainly heard Ryan's deputy Joelle express some the thought that, it's just, there's a lot of financial operations that we do. So if you're interested, please come in and talk to us. For our next board meeting at September 8th, I thought what I'd do, if it'd be helpful for the board, is just kind of outline the functions and who's doing what, who should be doing what, and who is doing what for the next board meeting, so you kind of know where things stand. And I asked Brian Kamiller from Plant Moran, the principal there, if he would be able to provide kind of his written report on where things are at. And he is also available to come to the next board meeting, September 8th, for a discussion with the board. So I thought at that time we could have that discussion and talk about next steps that might make sense. Are there any questions?
It doesn't look like it.
Thanks.
Lhasa, we had our board of directors meeting on Tuesday, or Monday. That was yesterday. And it was pretty short. Our next operations meeting is September 8th, 1 o'clock. And that's it for the now. Parks, Paths, Preserves Committee. David, Trustee Reed.
Yes, we met a couple days ago, and there was a lengthy and at times disrespectful discussion regarding the Mill Creek Bridge design and proposal, but at length we got the committee to approve to bring it forth to the board, bring it forward to the board. We will also be hoping to contract with to ask Carlisle Wortman to help us proceed with public input. The pros plan is coming up for renewal next year, and we'll need to start on that. We also had a very, very brief, because we were running out of time, very, very brief discussion on the parks millage, which will be, I think it expires in 2029, so we'll probably be looking to put it on 2028. And depending on what the parks director comes up with as far as the need for staff, we may need to increase it. I'm going to go segue to my LPC meeting. We still haven't gotten any financial reports. I think, Jessica, did you say the financial reports are forthcoming soon?
Yeah, part of it is cleaning up the gaps from prior fiscal year, but everything should be posted. So if Chris is Chris having trouble? We can talk offline.
Okay,
I can figure it out and print it for you.
Okay. We're trying to set up a meeting to discuss the shirt CE violation and set up procedures for when these violations occur. Fortunately, they don't occur that often, at least that we know of. But we don't really have a process for who to call or how we react. Often these things happen on the weekends, which makes it very unfortunate or very difficult to react to. The RCPP appeal, the $25 million that was denied a couple of years ago, the appeal was denied, and the appeal has been appealed, but the person to whom the appeal is directed, currently that position is vacant with no person in sight to be hired. So I think that RCPP, that $25 million, you can just probably kiss it goodbye. And we have three properties that should close by the end of the year, a 70-acre CE with Peter Hayden, a 100-acre CE with the Hicks, and a 79-acre parcel for fee simple, which will become most likely our 11th preserve, which will bring our total acreage of preserve to almost 600 acres. So we definitely need more assistance in the Parks Department.
Planning Commission, Trustee Brand?
Yes, the Planning Commission met last night. There was one agenda item. It deals with a project called the Groves of Scio, which is located almost on the corner of Jackson and South Zeeb. Part of this property, you may know it as the Malloy property. There's an industrial warehouse there. The project would involve demolition of that building with a request for brownfield TIF assistance. And then the remainder of the property, well, actually, where the warehouse currently exists, they're proposing 2 retail buildings, roughly 30,000 square feet. And then further south from that, they're proposing 125 units, townhouses. Their plan is hopeful to get agreement from the road commission to have a entry off of South Zeeb, what they call right in, right out. I don't know. It would not involve a left turn lane. Left turn if you were traveling south on Zeeb. The other entrance is existing, maybe enhanced on Jackson. That was approved by the Planning Commission. And the minutes will be coming out on that. That's all I have. Thanks.
Thank you. Trustee Knoll? Or no, sorry. Yes, Gelman.
The EPA had their series of meetings here last week on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday in regard to the listing of the Gelman site on the national priorities list. There were approximately 8 people from the EPA present, including Diane Russell, who is the Community Engagement Coordinator. On Wednesday evening, there was a poster session and then a presentation to a large group. This room was full. Chris Chang ran the Zoom recording of the meeting, and everything was recorded. And I need to check with Christy about getting that Zoom recording posted on the Scio website. So we'll talk later. I've got to, just remembering that we needed to do that. The EPA ran the whole meeting. They had sent out over 1,200 postcards to residents in the area of the plume. They also have created a questionnaire that residents can respond to, and we have some cards at the counters that give the barcode for the questionnaire that people can submit. Right now, the EPA is still conducting the initial evaluation of how they're going to proceed, and then they will prepare a plan that will be posted for a period of time, and Gelman can respond to that plan. Gelman is well aware of the steps that the EPA is going through right now. Diane Russell said that there's been regular communication going on with Gelman now. So there will be more news later But right now, we're still in the earliest phases of this process. Thank you. That's it.
Thank you. Township lobbying efforts. Subcommittee?
Nothing to report today.
Okay. Roads Advisory Committee, we had our regular meeting August 13th. We were a week behind because of the election. However, the Road Advisory Committee presented to the board a ballot proposal, which was accepted. That will be on the November 4th election, right? It's the 4th, right? And we are preparing to meet often and have presentations. We will have that on the calendar, and tomorrow we will be meeting and we will be working on the information and putting it together and whatnot. That's at 6 o'clock if anybody wants to attend. Rarely do people attend. We're kind of boring, but we all get along and we work really well together and we accomplish a lot. Okay, and do you want to present anything more for the MTC?
I'll defer to that.
Okay, and the operations director, he is, as you know, absent. There is the attachment. Operations manager, you had a report?
It's okay. Yeah, so the Parks Director brought this to me about 4:30 and said that it's actually a memo from, it's to Huron River interested parties from the DNR, and she also copied the board and asked me to pass it out. It basically is requesting if the board so chooses to provide comments regarding its opinion on permits relating to the installation of a woody habitat structure in Mill Creek. So.
And if I could, I get these as clerk regularly. So, before we had a parks director, there wasn't really anybody to kind of evaluate the significance. So any direction from the board on how you'd like me to process these, I can just drop them in correspondence as they come through. We could refer them. How would the board like me to handle these? I mean, I don't know enough about this, technical area to know. So that's why I dropped it in Murphy's box, but I can, however the board wants to handle. These come on occasion, several times a year.
This is not on our, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Trustee Reed. Maybe you know more about this than anybody.
I was just going to say, this is not even on our property. And it looks like they're doing it upstream, I think, from where our property is. Looks like it's closer to Shield Road. So I would defer to, maybe ask Tanya to come and talk to us about it, or just, I would defer to Director Harrington to see what effect it would have on our property. I doubt it will have any effect.
Right. Okay.
Okay, including in the reports is the August 13th. I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
In response to your question, Clerk Flintoff, I think it would be appropriate just to put it in correspondence. We have a record of it.
Okay, August 13th, 2026 Planning Staff Report is included from Carlisle Wortman, Laura Krebs. I'm assuming everybody's read it. It's just an update. Okay. Public hearings. So the first public hearing, during a public hearing, members of the public may speak up to the Board of Trustees for up to 5 minutes on the topic of the public hearing. So the first public hearing is M1, possible action, liquor license application 355 South Zeeb. That's the White Lotus Farm Cafe. And please come to the...
Hello. Thank you for listening and allowing me to speak this evening. My name is Kat Somo. I am the manager of White Lotus Farms Cafe, and I'm here representing our application. White Lotus Farms Cafe is a small, locally owned business and cafe built around fresh food, our farm on Liberty Road, and creating a welcoming place for people in the community. We are asking for the township's support for our liquor license because we believe alcohol can be a natural complement to the food and experience that we already provide. I want to make clear that our intention is not to turn the cafe into a bar or nightlife establishment. The focus of our business will continue to be food, coffee, baked goods, and the farm-to-table experience that White Lotus Farms is already well known for. The liquor license would allow us to offer appropriate alcoholic beverages as part of the cafe and dining experience. We understand that with this license comes responsibility, and we are committed to following all Michigan liquor laws and Scio Township requirements. We will have responsible procedures for checking identification, training employees, monitoring alcohol service, and dealing appropriately with anyone who should not be served. We also understand the importance of being a good neighbor. We want White Lotus Farms Cafe to be an asset to Scio Township, and we want our operation to be respectful of the surrounding community. We believe this license will allow our small business to grow while continuing to provide a quality, responsible, and community-oriented cafe experience. I respectfully ask for your support of our liquor license application, and I am happy to answer any questions or concerns you may have. I submitted with our application a written support letter from some of the residents that live right behind the cafe, and I have a few additional support letters that I was hoping to give to you, and I just hope that you will consider this, and we're excited about the possibility to grow our business in this way.
Okay, thank you. Would you like to pass this out?
Or
you can hand
it's
it.
just one copy of each. I'm not sure.
Yeah. Okay. Anyone else? Are you finished?
I'm finished.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else regarding White Lotus? Please come to the table.
Hello, thank you. My name is Travin Pelletier. I'm a longtime Scio Township business owner. I own Lotus Gardenscapes, Green Tree Care, and Daily Rain services. We're not actually business related to the White Lotus Cafe, but I go there a lot, and I've gone to the farm a lot and support their efforts. I submitted a letter of support today online to the board, and it's a great place, and I hope that you will positively support this application, and just wanted to show up tonight to offer my support for the group and the cafe. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Pilar Horner. I'm a longtime resident. I commute. I work at Michigan State for the university. I'm a professor there, but I live here in Scio Township. I love Scio Township. I've raised my son here. My husband is here. We have a beautiful property, and I just wanted to support this amazing business and the addition of a liquor license. I'm going to tell you, like at the end of a long day of commuting, we both commute. He works at Adrian. I work at MSU. Sometimes we go to the cafe for dinner, and I would like a place where I'm not bombarded by like television sets or like an overly complicated restaurant. This place, they worked really hard just to make it a community place where you can go at the end of the day, have a nice bowl of pasta. They make their own pasta. And I just want a glass of Chardonnay with my pasta. And my husband wants a beer with his pizza. And I think I have to tell you, they're really responsible, these individuals. I have watched them from the beginning of the farm that they have out on Liberty and what they've done to comply. I've seen the work with different officers coming and making sure everything is up to date. They're very responsible. They take it very seriously. When I walk into the cafe, they know who I am. They say my name. They remember what I've ordered. It's a gem in our community, and I think this would be an excellent addition. So I wanted to just tell you my support. I also wrote a letter, and I just want to say, if you haven't been there, I'd like to personally invite you. You should all come to the cafe. They're open Tuesday through Saturday. They're closed on Sunday and Monday. And they have breakfast there and lunch there and a fabulous dinner. And their menu is constantly expanding. We don't have anything like this where, it's very close to where I live. There's nothing quite like it. And so this would be a wonderful addition. So I just wanted to express my support. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Anyone else for White Lotus public hearing? No? Anyone online?
There are no hands raised to speak at the public hearing.
Okay. Well, the next public hearing.
Oh, there's a hand raised.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Who?
I can't see what it says, but.
There's a hand raised
Yep.
for the public hearing for White Lotus? Oh, you mean
Attention.
online?
Yep.
Oh.
Sorry, yeah, see, it's like up at the top.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Paula Gloverson, go ahead. Do you want to speak at this public hearing for White Lotus?
Yeah, good evening. Paula Gloverson, longtime resident. I enjoy White Lotus too, and it was close to my home, but it's difficult, and they're going to put a roundabout there to access it. But my concern is, I also think Homestyle Pizza, who also had wanted a liquor license, and if I remember one trustee saying, well, we want to save it for somebody bigger, a larger business. I just think that as much as I like both of them, that needs to be taken into consideration. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Paula.
Thank you, Paula.
Any other?
There are no hand raised.
Okay. Well, board member response. Oh. I said 8:29?
8:29.
8:29? This public hearing is closed at 8:29. Not in our rules of order. Board response, okay, let's begin with, well, I'm going to pass on this. I have frequented White Lotus Cafe and spent a small fortune. It's really good. It's right around the corner from me. Yes.
After.
Yep,
Okay.
after public comment, there is. 10:30 April? What? Well, that's what's in our rules of order.
I'm deferring my comments to the action item coming up. Thank you.
Okay.
I'll
Point off.
defer my comments to 01.
Okay. Trustee Brandt?
The same.
Trustee Noel?
I'm going to wait too.
Trustee Reed?
I'm going to wait too.
Okay. Trustee Reiser?
Same, please.
All right. Moving on to the next public hearing. Again, members of the public may speak up to the Board of Trustees for up to 5 minutes on the topic of this public hearing. The next one is M2 for the revocation of CUP number 10, 8 Point Landscaping, 6985 Jackson Road. Hi again.
Good to see you. It's been a while. As I said before, my name is Jordan Siegel. I'm an attorney with the firm of Badenhauser, Roth & Heller, located in Southfield. I represent 8 Point, the owner and operator of the property at 6985 Jackson Road. Property is identified as PIN H0820100036. I'm appearing on the agenda item regarding the proposed revocation of its conditional use permit. Let me state up front why I'm here and what I want to say. We respectfully ask the panel to deny the revocation of the conditional permit. Instead, we ask the board to allow the owner to complete its comprehensive site improvements that are already underway on a defined schedule with milestones and progress reporting back to this board. I'll explain why that's the right outcome. First, I want to cover 5 items. First, the remediation that is actively underway. Second, why this is genuinely a difficult site to engineer and why that has caused significant delays and why we are now overcoming those delays. Third, the two engineered drainage options that are now on the table, their costs and OHM's advisors' confirmation that are both viable options. Fourth, the scope of the owner's financial commitment to complete the repairs and improvements. And finally, our record of cooperation with the township. So first, the owner is not sitting idly by, is actively and diligently working to resolve the violations by the township. The owner has engaged Atwell, a qualified civil engineering firm, to develop compliant drainage solutions. Atwell has developed 2 viable drainage solutions, and of course, as I mentioned, drainage has been the key engineering difficulty. We have a draft site plan with the city. The city has, or I'm sorry, with the township. You have to forgive me, I'm from the East Coast where everything is a city. With the township has provided comments. We have addressed those comments and we're preparing a final submission now. Point 2, I want to be candid about why the drainage solution took longer than expected, and I understand the frustration that I've heard from the staff. The township's own consulting engineers will tell you the site is, in their words, quote, very tricky to engineer a way to solve. The property is largely flat. There is no natural outlet for stormwater. There's no adjacent municipal stormwater system into which drainage can be directed. Soil and groundwater conditions limit our infiltration. There are regulated wetlands in the vicinity. That means we have to go through Eagle, which is no sweet lullaby. Existing structures, storage areas, circulation areas, and mature trees along the eastern property all constrain where delineation facilities can go. And critically, no solution confined entirely to the existing developed footprint was workable, which means we had to go outside of the existing footprint. That costs money, that costs time. We had to engage topographic and utility surveys. We had to engage soil and groundwater evaluation. We had to engage a wetlands delineation and stormwater modeling, all of which was extremely expensive and difficult, but we have done it anyway. Option 1 that we have proposed is a detention basin, essentially a pond, on a neighboring parcel. The parcel to the west, which is owned also by the same owner of the owner of this site, the property would be regraded, our property would be regraded to direct stormwater to the neighboring site with a permanent easement for water flow recorded against the adjacent parcel. The estimated cost is in excess of $300,000, which we are committed to pay. That's just for the drainage. That does not include the other improvements and fixes to the problems on site, which we are also committing to pay. We expect this option will give a total cost in the vicinity of $400,000 to $450,000. Option 2 would be to install an underground detention facility on the southern portion of this site. That underground detention is considerably more expensive. We expect that option to run approximately $500,000 to $550,000 when all extras are included. We are committing to complete all of the improvements, whichever option is selected. Our preference, of course, is the cheaper option. I'm sure you can understand. The stormwater detention infrastructure, whether it's the basin or the underground system, is going to be massively expensive. We are going to complete them. If the facility is, if the board votes to revoke its conditional use, what will happen is the business will shutter and the drainage issue will remain with no one to fix it. No one is going to purchase a site with a drainage problem that costs this much money. So the only thing that will be accomplished if this board votes to revoke the conditional use permit is that it is ensuring that this problem will continue into the future when there is a owner who is committing now to complete expensive and necessary repairs. I also want to highlight that we are working with Laura Krebs. We are working with OHM advisors. We have sought township input into finalizing the existing plans. I'm sure you can understand when we're committing this much money, we want to be sure that it will, 1, solve the problem, and 2, meet municipal approval. We don't want to get to building permit and find out we did something wrong and have to go back to the drawing board. So we are proceeding slowly, yes, but we are proceeding apace We do want to make sure we get it right the first time. I'm sure the board can understand. And as for those reasons, we ask this board to not revoke the conditional use permit, permit 8 Point to continue its efforts, significant efforts, to fund and remediate all of the drainage and other site problems on site. We are not asking you to give us a blank check in terms of time. What we are offering instead is to work alongside the Township Attorney's Office to develop a set of milestones which we can then report back to this board with a confirmation of progress. And if at that time we have not put our money where our mouth is, so to speak, the revocation would certainly be on the table. But what we're asking for is the opportunity to complete the repairs in a way that gives you accountability, a financial stake, and an owner who is willing to do the responsible thing for the township itself. For those reasons, we ask you to not revoke the conditional use permit. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else?
Probably have to come back up during the business session.
Yeah. Thank you, Treasurer Yapel. Anyone else here to speak on the 8 Point for the public hearing portion?
I have a packet for all the board members. There's 9 copies, and there's probably enough for 8 Point's representative as well.
Thanks, Brian.
Yeah, 5 minutes. Okay. Chrissy, hold on one second. Yes.
Did you have your own?
You can share with 8 Point's representative.
All right, are you ready?
Good evening. Members of the Board of Trustees, my name is Alan Lutz. I'm the managing member of Alpha Business Center LLC and Omega Business Center LLC, which are the 2 properties adjacent to and to the east of what is essentially a gravel pit operated by 8 Point Building Supply. I have provided a package of documentation to help the board better understand the negative impacts of 8 Point's operations and zoning violations on my properties and my tenants. You may believe that my description of this property as a gravel pit is an exaggeration, or please look at the picture at the top of page 1 of the document package, and I believe you will also conclude that 8 Point's operations is closer to that of a gravel pit than a site conforming to Scio's approved limited industrial zone properties. If you look on the second page, you can see the surrounding properties. Look at the buffering, the green space, all of that compared to this property. Okay, it's been 28 months since Scio Township and 8 Point were notified of these zoning violations. Yet over this period, 8 Point has not only refused to address these violations, but the intensity and frequency of the problems have increased. I've tried to collaborate with the township and 8 Point to develop reasonable solutions, but 8 Point has flatly refused. To understand the impacts on my properties, I believe I will sustain losses in excess of $500,000 if these violations are not addressed. Okay, I plan to construct new buildings on the southern portions of both 6885 and 6921 Jackson. I presented a conceptual plan to the township's planner at a meeting on March 12, 2026. However, with 8 Point's heavy industrial use, the unresolved groundwater discharge onto my properties, and an 11-foot high by 150-foot long concrete wall along my west property line, I believe that rental rates would be adversely impacted to the point in which development would not be financially feasible. This portion of the property may no longer have any value. 8 Point's redirection of stormwater and runoff from their parking areas is causing additional wetlands and a greater drainage burden on my properties, which reduces the net buildable area and adds additional costs for wetland and stormwater mitigation if I do pursue development. I find it somewhat humorous that the applicant stated, we want to do it right the first time. Okay, they developed this without approvals. They did it wrong the first time. It's their fault it's wrong. Okay, to now say, give us a break when we made these mistakes seems a little disingenuous. I believe that the earth movement caused by dumping boulders near my building may be causing my foundation to crack and settle. My tenants are impacted by the loud noise and dust from 8 Point's operations. They cannot open windows for fresh air due to the dust and noise. The noise from dumping and loading rocks and boulders and the slamming of dump truck tailgates interrupts their work. My employees don't like to occupy office space on the western side of my building. Between 3 o'clock and 4 o'clock today, I could not work in my office, which is in the northwest corner of the building, due to earth movement and loud noises caused by the filling and dumping of boulders by gravel trains. After every storm, gravel and debris from their gravel parking and storage areas are tracked onto Jackson Road. Gravel and stone fall off their trucks when they exit the property. Sometimes their customers do not cover or secure their loads, and product is dumped on Jackson Road. In addition to an unsightly appearance and filling the county sewer with gravel and silt, this causes a safety issue as vehicles exiting our driveway onto Jackson Road with its 50-mile-per-hour speed limit can spin out on the gravel. I've had to file litigation against this property owner because Scio Township's enforcement actions have not been successful. I will waste another $50,000 on litigation expense. To bring this property into compliance, significant decisions are needed from township leaders that are not clearly defined in zoning ordinance and development standards. I asked the board to determine what products will be allowed for outdoor storage, building products versus landscape products. Many of the problems related to 8 Point's operations relate to their expansion into aggregates, stone, boulders, and mulch. These products have caused 8 Point to construct large concrete containment bins and utilize dump trucks, gravel trains, front-end loaders, and excavator, which all contribute to noise, dust, and debris.
Mr. Lutz, your 5 minutes is up.
Okay, I can't continue with my statement.
For this public hearing, there's 5 minutes per.
Okay, I'm going to provide a copy of my statement and ask that it be entered into the record and that the board members review my statement because it includes critical details that you need to understand. If this was next to any other commercial building, any other property, they would be incredibly upset. Okay? I need our township leaders to enforce its zoning activities, and I ask that you revoke this permit immediately. Within my statement, if you choose not to revoke it immediately, there are temporary steps that can mitigate these damages that are very reasonable.
And Mr. Lutz, if you want to turn that into me, I can get it in. I'm
Sorry,
speaking.
okay.
Sorry, if you have a copy, I can get it in and shared tomorrow morning. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I would ask for an opportunity to respond.
Well, it's public hearing. Everyone has 5 minutes during this public hearing.
And I did not use up my 5 minutes.
Is there anyone else?
I can do it 1 minute or less.
Well, we need to follow the rules of order, and you had your 5 minutes, and this is not a court of law where you have your back and forth.
Won't he be able to speak up when it comes to our substantive consideration of it?
Yes.
Right now,
Yeah, if we ask him to, yeah.
right.
So, yeah, okay. Anyone else here for the public hearing for 8 Point that would like to speak, come to the table? Okay, anyone online, please?
Is there anyone online that would like to speak at the public hearing for 8 Point? Please raise your Zoom hand. There are no hands raised.
Okay. Well, let's close this public hearing at
8:47.
8:47, thank you. And board response, I'll ask, but
Defer to action item, thank you.
Okay, and same with everyone? Okay. All right, then. New business. Well, we go back to White Lotus, 01, possible action, liquor license application 355 South Zeeb, White Lotus Farm Cafe. Oh. Yeah, is she good?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay,
All right.
here it is.
I'll promote her to panelist.
Don't we typically have the applicants sit at the table?
Yeah, I'm going to have questions if that's allowed. Please, thank you.
Good evening, everybody.
Hi, Laura.
So White Lotus has, as Kat had informed you during the public hearing, they have requested the last remaining quota liquor license available at the township at this time. I reviewed the application for completeness based on the information required and outlined in Chapter 4 of the township's codified ordinance related to requirements and review procedures for liquor licensing in the township, and have found it complete. A resolution of approval is also provided in your packet should you determine you would like to approve the liquor license for White Lotus Cafe.
Okay, thank you. Well, I guess we can just go in order. I'm going to pass it this time. Treasurer Yable?
Thank you. Thanks for your patience. I know it's been a long evening. I appreciate your application. At this point, we've had 2 other applicants come before you over the last several months that you may be aware of. We're stuck in a position with only 1 license. What I would recommend, and I'll have a motion a little bit later for everybody, involves looking back at a DDA and seeing what we could do. The township voted last August with the supervisor and myself being the 2 no votes to dissolve the DDA. If we had a downtown development authority and all 3 of these businesses were the former downtown development authority boundary, we could grant you a DDA liquor license and we would not be in this unfortunate situation of having 1, but having, at least at the moment, seen 3 applicants over the last 6 to 9 months. So I'll have a motion a little bit later. I feel sorry, I don't want to keep taking folks' money when we can't be, at least in my mind, reasonable and objective with it. Because it's really hard for me to make a decision on 1 when really everyone's met the criteria. And then how do you weigh 1 against another and be equitable and reasonable? Thanks.
Thank you. Clerk Flintoff.
I just had first a question for Laura and then a comment. Laura, could you remind me the moratorium that we placed? I want to confirm, or we didn't?
It was never passed. It was,
It was never
a 3-3
passed.
vote.
It was a 3-3 vote. And so there was we had 2 applications and there was not a majority to move forward with either one. Okay. So I was in the dissent on that vote because I was ready to move forward with one of them, DKY Sushi, of the 2. And certainly it's not perfect. We don't have a ton of criteria, but I think it's important for the township to do what it can do in order to support small businesses when we have the opportunity to do so. So I am opposed to the idea of sitting on our liquor license until there's something in our unexpert determination would be more economic development when none of us have enough data or expertise to make that decision. So the second concern, which is real, is fairness. I do think we have 3 applications, which I wish we had a process to have them considered fairly. Last time, we had the benefit of having two before us at one time, so we could do at least a side-by-side comparison. They're not before us again. I don't know, Laura, have we asked, certainly we haven't asked them to come back, but they are able to come back at any time. Is that correct?
That's correct. They'd have to, I believe, repay the review fee. I mean, I don't know. We have not established a protocol for that. I
Right.
know at least one of those applicants is interested in asking again. But they have, I asked them to hold their application until you acted on this one, because this hearing was already scheduled.
Okay, thank you. And I think Laura's comments are a reflection of how rare it is that we handle these sorts of applications. I just want to note my concern for fairness and just put on our to-do list any improvement we can on process so that we can, maybe it's once a year or something where we have all the applications at one time before us, something like that, so we can weigh them together. We don't currently have that process, so tonight I'll be supporting this application because I think it's a small and easy thing to do to help a good local business, longstanding business, serving locally grown food. And it is a really nice space. You've done a great job there. And I'll be supporting this application tonight and wish you the best of luck with your business.
Thank you.
Trustee Brandt?
Yes, thank you. At the prior board decision on this, I had put forth a motion to do a moratorium. It failed, unfortunately, but I will point out the facts of what is available. So as I pointed out, I did a bit of research on this. The location that White Lotus Cafe is currently in was formerly housing Mancino's, I believe.
Yes.
At that time, Mancino's had a tavern license, which is transferable. I looked again. It looks like they are transferring that to someone else. So when it comes to fairness, the two other entities had the opportunity to buy that tavern license, and either one of them could have done that. That is no longer an option for you because Mancino's has taken action. And based on that, I do think it's fair to give you this license. I think it's fair that the other entities did have an avenue to pursue and chose not to. Aside from, I make no comments on the economics of that. It's just simply there was an avenue for them to get a license to do what they wanted to do, and that is no longer an option for you. So I do support this effort. The amount of response in support of this is commendable. We did not have that kind of feedback on the other entities, and I take that to heart. That's significant. So I do support this application, and I hope it passes for you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Trustee Noel?
I too support this application. I've eaten there multiple times. I've visited your farm site multiple times, and I would like to support your business, and it's very refreshing. I'm wondering for the evening hours, are you going to expand your evening hours?
It is something that we've considered. Our initial plan was to try a full year at our current hours, which is 7 to 7, 5 days a week. But with the addition of a liquor license, we have talked about the possibility of extending, especially like Friday and Saturday, maybe to go a little bit later on those nights when people tend to go out for dinner on the weekend. So it is a possibility. We don't have a concrete plan yet. since we haven't been approved.
What is your plan in terms of type of liquor that you're going to serve? Or do you have a plan?
We have discussed, I think primarily beer and wine, which is also what we would like to sell in the market. I applied for the additional license to sell beer and wine bottled. And then to, I think, have some spirits available, but I don't think that would be like a primary addition to our offerings.
Okay. Well, thank you and good luck.
Thank you.
Trustee Reed.
I too support this. I think the business is worthy. I've been there several times. It's always been very crowded. Good for you.
Thank you.
So yeah, I was conflicted the last time these two came, the two companies came, and it was a difficult choice. This choice, I guess it's just a matter of timing. I think this seems to me to be an easy choice. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Trustee Reiser.
A couple questions. How many is your seating currently?
We have a capacity of 100 people. I think the seating is 80.
Okay.
So that includes staff.
100 people. And you're going to have beer, wine, and spirits?
Yes.
Okay. Spirits, okay. And, no, I mean, I appreciate that a fellow officer talked about how do we do these. Well, our ordinance under 425D gives us several factors, 37 actually, factors. And you address those in your application. With respect to subsection D of section 425. So you do answer, you do give us information that we ask for in our ordinance. And so I thank you for providing the specifics that you have. I'm going to support this because my personal opinion is that municipalities get asked to dole out, to allow Class C licenses, and we get more requests sometimes than we do applicants. Than we have licenses, and we just have to make those hard choices. I'm interested in interesting places that are going to serve a lot of people with beer, wine, and liquor, and I think this meets it. I'm going to support it, and I think our ordinance is something I can rely on under 425(d) 1 through 37, and then you give us guidance, or you give me guidance that not directs me, but gravitates my support of your application. So I'm going to be supporting this.
Thank you.
Well, I'll be open and honest here. I recuse myself from the sushi. They are my neighbors. They live down the road from me, and I've watched their family grow, and so I did recuse myself. And also there was another application at the same time. As Treasurer Yapel said, we were members of the DDA. It was dissolved by this board except for the two of us, and we wouldn't be in this issue if we had still continued with the DDA. I'm going to vote no on this, not because I don't support White Lotus. I support everything that you are doing. It's just that we have one license. We're done. This is the townships. We're to blame. And also, I recuse myself from my neighbors and supporting their business. So that's the only reason I support the White Lotus, and also I think you need to have hours on Tuesday nights till about midnight.
Every other Tuesday.
Yeah.
Okay, there is a motion to adopt the attached resolution recommending approval of a liquor license for White Lotus Farm Cafe located at 355 South Zeeb Road.
I'll make that motion.
Support.
Okay, roll call, please.
Carey?
No.
Yapel?
No.
Flintoff? Yes. Brandt?
Yes.
Noel?
Yes.
Reed?
Yes.
Riser?
Yes.
Resolution adopted, 5-2.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Thank you for
Congratulations.
your time.
Thank you. Okay. We're back to O2, possible action. Revocation of CUP number 10-8 Point Landscaping 6985, Jackson. Yes. Oh, yes, yes. Sure. Well, Laura, you're still available? Are you?
Yes.
Okay, why don't you go ahead with, well, I know I have spoken with you and also our code enforcement officer regarding these issues. Many of the issues, I've gone through a lot of the paperwork and the online visuals. So could you please, from the planning point of view, give us your insights here?
Sure. I give you a lot of information in the packet, including the original conditional use permit number 10, our conditional use review that we did for the Planning Commission last June 2025, and also a timeline that was to Mariah Fink, the township attorney, from myself, with a timeline of events from April 15th, 2024 through July of this year. And so I'll just kind of summarize some of that for you because it's a lot. In April 2024, the township received a complaint regarding expansion of operations at the 8 Point Landscaping Facility located at 6985 Jackson Road. The expansion occurred between 2018 and 2020 without approvals. That original conditional use permit was issued for this property on November 12th, 1974, and it allowed the sale of manufactured products, the sale and display of building construction materials, to construct and contain structures in accordance with the zoning ordinance. And additionally, all outside material storage and bins were to be located behind the front of the building line of the two-story structure. As documented by aerial photos in our conditional use review, operations have expanded, providing storage areas in front of the building face and within the rear of the property where trees were removed and a drainage ditch was relocated without any approvals. Code enforcement has been ongoing and is documented in the memo timeline I already talked about that's attached to this agenda item. Originally, we requested the property owner to apply for expansion of a conditional use. That's when the Planning Commission held the required public hearing and postponed action on June 23rd, 2025, requesting additional information to be provided. Since the Planning Commission meeting, the township planner, the township attorney, and the code enforcement officer have been working with the property owner representative to solve these issues. Since March 2026, there had been limited communication with the property owner representatives and no forward movement on submittal of a site plan or additional info to bring the site into compliance. And in June 2026, a citation was issued. In July, a property owner rep failed to appear in court and they defaulted with fines and costs. Clearly that's a very brief summary of 2+ years of documented emails, communications, meetings that are outlined in our timeline.
Attorney Fink?
I don't have anything to add. I don't know if you have questions for Laura or for me, but thanks, Rob.
It's on. Just there you go.
It is on.
Is it on?
It is.
Closer to it.
Is it on?
Yeah.
It's fine. We can hear you.
Okay.
I'll just speak a little bit louder. So Laura, the timeline I think is the most important item to look at here because there is there's a bit of an impression given that we've not been in contact with 8 Point and that we've not been working with them. And it's been over 2 years of conversation. And Attorney Siegel is new to the project, fairly new to the project. 8 Point has been represented previously throughout this process. I do think that, I want to give credit to Attorney Siegel for the work that he has done. He has gotten them further along than the other two guys were able to. But the fact of the matter, and the reason that we wanted to still have the hearing today, even though there has been some progress, is that it's just not enough progress. We have set numerous deadlines over the past 2 years that have been missed. And it is, certainly it's frustrating for the neighbor, as you heard. Code enforcement, we're having to spend a lot of time and energy on this. And the revoking the conditional use is sort of the natural next step when we're not able to get the compliance that we want through the other means.
Okay.
If I may respond.
I have some questions.
At some point, I would think he should be allowed to respond just to make his record.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying it has to be now, but at some point, I don't want to let him.
John, you were not.
I'm out of order, my apologies.
We have OHM
I don't believe OHM is available. The only contact that OHM has had with this project recently is about the drainage issue, and that's fairly new. And the question that was posed, if I misstate this, you can correct me. The question that was posed to OHM is, we've got option A and option B for the drainage. Does OHM have a preference? And I do believe that they stated that they had a preference, and that's the contact that OHM has had.
I'm sorry, they said they did not have a
Who
preference.
did not have a preference? Thank you.
That both would be appropriate solutions.
Okay, go ahead and answer, I guess, some of the comments or questions that that you've heard.
I certainly respect the fact that this has taken a long time to get where we are, but not by me. And I thank Mariah for her comments that since I've come on board, we've made progress and we will continue to make progress. And the reason why I'm asking you not just to give us, as I said, a blank check in terms of time, is for that very reason. That I respect the frustration that everyone is feeling with this project. I've explained why we've had some of the delays, at least the ones that I've been involved with. That has to do with the specific engineering of the site. We've overcome those now and we can start moving forward much more quickly. And I'm offering to put my money where my mouth is in that regard by giving you discrete milestones, which Mariah and I can work out and report back so that there is a clear accountability check as we go forward. If we stop responding, if we stop moving forward, then you guys have no one to blame but me. And I will step up and admit to that fault. I want to respond to some of the other comments that were made. What you heard earlier were the words of a frustrated litigant. The speaker mentioned that he is involved with a lawsuit, that he had filed a lawsuit against my client. What he neglected to tell you was most of that lawsuit has been dismissed. And so what you heard was someone who was frustrated that he lost. And I submit to you, if he is in fact looking to have all these problems remedied, why wouldn't he allow us to do it on our dime? Right? We are offering to fix all the problems he has suggested at considerable expense to the property owner and at no expense to him. So if he is so concerned with these issues that are occurring on the site and not with the fact that he's angry that he lost, why would he not be in favor of us spending almost $500,000 to fix the problems that he is complaining about? That's what we're offering to do. And again, I'm happy to answer any questions from the panel.
Well, I have some. I'm first on the list here. As I said, I have been working and listening and whatnot regarding this. I do know that 8 Point does offer a good business to the community. I know that. I have neighbors, I have other people in the community that say so. However, I have some questions. So in 2018, the issues began. I'm assuming that it was sold to a new owner,
No, 8 Point has always been.
the same owner
has
since
been the same.
1974?
I don't know that it was since 1974, but I don't believe it was acquired in 2018. I think it was significantly earlier. I believe he's been the owner since approximately 2012.
Since 2012,
And,
okay.
and that 2018 date is anecdotal from aerial photos. So
okay.
we don't have an actual day that something changed. We just were able to track it to 2018.
Okay.
And don't quote me on the 2012. I can confirm the date for you.
Okay. Well, it's been expanding, and the owner has not come to the township. From what I understood, they knew that they had a conditional use. They did not come to us, and we would like to expand. We would want to, whatever they wanted to do. And also, I know that there's wetlands, and there was a stream that was moved without permission, and that's upsetting to me. I'm surprised that the DNR hasn't been involved, because if there's wetlands, depending on the type of wetlands, and then also Eagle. So it's concerning to me that, I know that you're new with this owner, but there's a history here of violating the rules, not seeking or being chased after to remedy the issues. And it seems to me that there's more action with you, but they could let you go too. I like the offer that there's a lot of money that could be spent on all of this, but I'm just concerned that they're not going to follow through.
Well, if I have anything to say about it, they will. And I'll certainly say that I share your concern. I'm a land use attorney across the state, and I see these sorts of issues all over the place. What I think you can attribute it to is less an intentional disregard for the rules and more a failure to understand what the rules are and what the rules mean. From my conversations with my client, I would tell you he thought, it's my property, I'm not hurting anyone, I can do what I want. We have remonstrated with I've remonstrated with my client. I've done some reach out and education about zoning rules, about building rules. We don't believe the problem will continue once we have it remedied. And if I am let go and this panel revokes his conditional use, he'll have no one to blame but himself. You know, what I will follow that up with is, you know, look, at the end of the day, you can always revoke it tomorrow. You can always revoke the conditional use. Once you revoke it now, it's gone. And so I would ask that you be circumspect about imposing that kind of a penalty, which is for this business effectively a death sentence. The next door neighbor has filed suit. That suit was, as I say, mostly dismissed. We are addressing the conditions that remain. We are addressing the conditions on the ground. We are trying to make up for our past mistakes. And we are doing so to the tune of $500,000 in our own money. I think that stands for something, and I think that shows our good faith in this instance. And if we, again, fall down on the job tomorrow, and you can revoke then, we're asking for the opportunity to show that we've changed our ways.
Attorney Fink, so let's say that it is revoked. What would be the next steps in the company? I mean, could the owner come back and request another conditional use? How would that work?
I believe that another conditional use could not be resubmitted for a year.
And the company, no company could exist without operations for a year.
Okay, Treasurer Yapel.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I share many of the same concerns. I mean, I actually own a business down the street from this business. I I had to go through the site plan, and I actually have a conditional use permit. I'm the only one on the board that's been through the site planning process and conditional use and rezoning. It's a process here at Scio Township. I have some really huge concerns here. So I'm looking at this timeline that the township planners provided. It goes back to 2024. I mean, I appreciate that your clients have retained you, in addition to the $500,000 in site improvements that they must do to comply with the rules. I'm sure they're also paying you some fees.
Respectfully,
I
I
appreciate you
won't
trying to support them through this process. I'm struggling because I'm seeing a repeated pattern of irresponsiveness. I mean, it's not just once, it's not just twice, it's multiple times over multiple years. I mean, okay, he or she can think I can do whatever I want on my property, but when you start getting multiple letters and multiple emails and multiple phone calls from us and we're saying, we need to talk to you, we've sat down, we've told you what you need to do, and you're not doing it, I mean, it makes every effort that we've done really, like, what else can we do to try and make, we do want to try and work with the business, we do want to try and make this work. This isn't working. And I appreciate, and I like the idea of, you know, a timeline, and I mean, hell, I'd love if it was a consent judgment or something we could force you onto.
We would be willing to enter into a consent judgment.
That's a thought. Okay, that might resolve some of this issue, but I mean, I need some teeth behind this, because just coming up with something on paper and us both, you know, you signing for your party and our attorney signing for us, I don't actually believe it's going to come to fruition based on past practice and behavior. I think you can appreciate that. I mean, maybe a consent judgment is the solution here, but it needs to happen expeditiously, because it's not reasonable to the township, it's not reasonable to the neighboring property owners. Frankly, it violates, most likely, Eagle policy and or applicable statute. I'm not an attorney, but moving the course of a waterway is a problem. I've had to apply for Eagle permits too. Yeah, thanks.
Ironically, that's been the cause of one of the delays, is that we are trying to get an Eagle permit to mitigate the drainage. That's when we came up with these two possible options in conjunction with Atwell working with Eagle. So we do have, we don't have formal approval, but we do have a buy-in, I would say, in the same way that we have a buy-in from OHM to say that, you know, we agree with both of your potential solutions. As I say, we absolutely would enter into a consent judgment.
Okay. Clerk Flintoff.
Thanks. A question, and I don't know if Keith is online. Christy, it's okay if he's not. No worries. I know he was here earlier. I want to thank Keith and Laura and Mariah, Alicia, everybody for their work on this over the last couple of years. The file is clear, and I think this is the upside is this is a good example of the township doing its job. So good job, Mariah and Laura and Keith on that. I think the record is really clear. I just want to confirm, I see here in the prepared sheet, Laura, I want to confirm that, Laura, you are recommending the revocation of the CUP? Is that correct?
I'm not recommending it. I don't know if Mariah is. This is brought before the board. It's an option, is the next step.
So the recommendation on it says cover sheet prepared by Laura Krebs. Recommendation.
Oh, we do. Yes, we do recommend it. Sorry about that. It's getting late in the hour.
No problem, dude. I'm just trying to confirm here. Township attorney, planner, and code enforcement officer recommend revocation of the CUP number 10. Is that correct for you, Mariah? You're recommending this?
Yes, with conditions. I mean, it's a really, it's a really difficult recommendation to make. Because, you know, as Jordan was saying, this could potentially shut down the business. Now, not to give your clients any ideas, but I've revoked CUPs in other communities, and those people continued to work, and we ended up in circuit court, and we ended up with a consent judgment.
I'd rather not.
I would rather not also. I appreciate that completely. But it's not like tomorrow anyone's going over there and putting a lock on the gate.
Right.
So I would be interested if it's all right with the chair if I ask Mr. Siegel a couple of questions. So Jordan, do you have a timeline? I mean, you're talking about these restrictive timelines, but can you give us some idea of what that might look like?
We're expecting the final site plan from Atwell really any day. I think from there, I would work with you to develop comprehensive deadlines for site plan approval, site plan submission, site plan approval, entering into a consent judgment, working out the language on that. You and I work well together. We can get that resolved, I feel, pretty quickly.
Do you think your client would be willing to put some sort of performance bond down?
I believe he would, yes.
So I think there are some options that the board could look at. I guess the model motion is to direct Laura and me to draft a resolution for revocation. Just me? Oh, okay, yeah. Which, obviously that is a motion that you could make and.
There's a hand up on Zoom, I don't know who it is.
There's someone on. Yeah, I'm trying to see if it's Keith. No, sorry, go on. Mariah.
And adopt.
Yes, it is Keith.
Oh, okay.
Oh, do you want to hear from Keith?
Finish what you're saying first and then.
Yeah.
Continue going around.
Yeah, so that's one option is tonight to direct the drafting of the resolution of the revocation. Another would be to table your decision for another date. Now that we've had the public hearing, you would not have to have another public hearing. We could bring back some more information. I mean, it's really, this is entirely up to the board how you want to move forward. I would not recommend that any tabling or delay in decision-making is very extended because of the long period of time we've been working on this. And I think we're in a situation where if we give too much of a gap, we might have a fall off of progress again, just to be frank.
That's fair. And look, I'm a deal lawyer and I like to make deals. So here's my proposal. Give us 30 days and see if we can, Mariah and I can come up with the language of a consent judgment, perhaps including the bonding that was discussed. And if we can't, we'll come back here and again, we'll have no one to blame but ourselves.
Okay. Clerk Flintoff, could you continue if you had more questions because you asked attorney?
Yeah. If I could, thanks, Keith. I hear you're online. Keith, if you wouldn't mind joining by Zoom, I just had a question. I just wanted to confirm your recommendation is revocation. If you could confirm that and speak to that recommendation at all?
Hang on, I'm going to promote you to panelist, Keith. Hang on. Might be easier.
I don't know how we didn't recognize you, Pixel 10 Pro.
Yeah. A little cryptic for me, but.
Can you hear me?
Hi, Keith.
Hi, Keith.
What specifically would you like to know?
I would like to confirm, is your recommendation to revoke the CUP?
So this started before I took this position, and it has included the previous code enforcement officer. We've attempted for the over 2 years to resolve this problem. We have not seen the progress that we've asked for. And we've put a lot of time and effort into this in trying to work with this business, and we haven't seen the cooperation. I've issued 2 citations on this matter, both of which I believe were default judgments. And again, little to no communication or action on this business. So my recommendation would be for the board to consider our previous experiences with this business and take the appropriate action. My recommendation is for the board to make a decision on this with the understanding of how much we've already invested in trying to get compliance with this customer.
Thank you, Keith. And I would just say, I did want to note, it's a lot of township resources we've spent on this. I would be supportive of moving forward with asking our township attorney to draft a resolution revoking CUP 10, as well as coming back with a viable alternative if there is one. But would think that maybe, I don't know what the timeline is, but I agree, I don't want to give too much time, whether it's 4 weeks or 6 weeks, whatever it is. But it seems to me that until there's actually 11th hour alternative here, we've already spent a lot of time and energy on this trying to enforce, and that revocation of the CUP may just be the right thing to do now or in the near future. Thank you.
Trustee Brandt. Yes, I have a question for Laura Krebs, our planner. Laura, do you know if the adjacent property to the west, 7005 Jackson, is also out of compliance with our zoning?
Keith might be able to actually answer this better. I believe, yes, there was also a code enforcement action that occurred on that property, which I think currently houses Jay's Trees Trimming.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, that is correct.
And it appears from the pictures given by the other adjacent neighbor that it almost appears that they're storing building materials on that site as well. Does anyone know that, Keith?
No, that is not true. It's basically a firewood processing facility.
Okay.
Which is technically, I believe Laura can confirm or deny that that's not an accepted use for that parcel. And we were also trying to work, because that is also owned by the same individual or same corporation, that they are also in violation next door.
Right.
The property is owned.
Excuse me, sir, I'm asking questions of our staff. So Keith and Laura, it also looks like the property 7005 has a number of trees removed as well, correct?
So if you're asking me, Trustee Brandt, I don't believe that they violated the tree preservation ordinance on that parcel, at least not within the last 10 years.
Yeah, I thought I'd looked at some older Google Maps that looks like trees have been removed. Okay.
Yeah, there's been probably 2 or 3 different businesses on that parcel within the same time frame.
Okay. Thank you. So now, sir, I have a question. Is the owner here in attendance tonight?
No, he's not.
Okay. I also note that the owner did not attend the court hearing.
That's correct. I will say, with regard to the neighboring parcel, if there are zoning problems there, that's number one, is news to us.
Well,
number two,
it's not news to the owner, sir.
Well, he is not the operator of the business on the site. He simply owns the property. There's a tenant on the site.
The zoning does not, it goes to the owner, not the tenant. So the owner should fully be aware of that noncompliance as well.
Again, that's the first that we're hearing of that, and certainly if there are issues there, we are willing to remediate those as well.
Okay, so
I can't speak to what they are because I don't know what they are.
Right, but there's an alarming trend here that I think we can all see, that the owner has been ignoring our officials for 2 years. They have ignored the court. they don't show up to this hearing to speak for themselves. The alarming trend is that you're asking us to trust you, and that's not what we should be doing. The owner needs to own the situation and be trustworthy that they're going to fix it. Okay, so you continue to say that it's a $500,000, $500,000 fix when the documentation says $300,000.
It's $300,000 for the drainage. There are additional items that need to be addressed as well, such as landscape buffering, impervious sourcing, and things like that. Those also have to be addressed, and that's the additional expense.
Okay, I will continue. So we know that the owner has ignored the township for 2 years. We also are estimating that this damage to the wetland happened in 2018. That's 8 years of harm to Scio's environment. It's not reasonable to say an owner, ignorance is not a valid excuse. Okay, that's not how zoning works. So
certainly.
So I think the 8 years on top of, it's been 2 years that they've been notified and they continue to ignore the township. They ignore the township, they ignore the court, they don't even show up here to talk to us. You stated that the neighbor failed in court, and I noticed he was shaking his head. No.
I'd like to address that.
May we do that?
Yes,
Mariah?
It's up to you. Well, finish.
Well, okay, I've taken that to heart. Okay, that's also part of the pile of evidence that I'm weighing here. He's disputing that. I have no reason to think that he's not honest in that. And we, as a township, have an obligation to all of our property owners. We have an obligation to the neighbor to not allow this to continue. So I am in support of our staff, our attorney, our adjoining neighbors. It's compounded by noncompliance with the other adjacent property that you want to put a detention pond on the adjacent property. Again, it doesn't line up with me that that would be fulfilled. You don't write a letter to the board on the day of the hearing and say, mea culpa, mea culpa. It's not on you, sir. It's not on you. It's on the owners. So I am strictly looking at the owners and their negligence and continued negligence. And they don't seem to want to find a solution. And the damage has been done, and the damage has been done to the adjacent neighbor. And your solution does not fix the damage to the adjacent neighbor either. This is all self-serving to your property owner, but not to the township. Thank you.
Well, respectfully.
We're going to continue. We have
Okay,
more
very
board
well.
members here. Trustee Knoll?
This is a long, complicated situation. It's been going on for a while. And I agree with some of what Kathleen Brandt just said. I am wondering if I'd like to ask Mariah and Laura, has there been improvement in working with this applicant, let's just say over the last 6 months? Is it any better? Is there a hope that if we gave you 30 days to come up with a consent judgment and come back, that is it likely that could work?
Well, I would like to acknowledge that the property owner, when we asked them to do some sort of simple changes to the property, for example, moving all of the materials that they had originally stored in front of the building, behind the building, that did happen. So I should acknowledge that. It's not that they've not done anything. And as I've said, they've had several representatives. We've had a lot of meetings. I take Jordan at his word, and he is correct. We've worked together on other things. Sometimes it takes a certain chemistry between the representative and the owner to kind of light a fire. I think that it is a worthwhile exercise because of the severity of what the question before you is, that you might table your decision to give us time to see if we can work something out. I mean, he already knows that it will be something very specific with timelines and punishments, honestly, so that we're not just, we've been really nice so far. And I don't think that anyone wants me to be as nice anymore, so. Does that answer your question?
It does. Have you seen improvement in the negotiations recently since this attorney has been involved?
So that would be a better question for Laura, because she has had more contact with Jordan based on information that he's been sending to the township. So Laura, can you speak to that?
So sure, I haven't had a ton of direct contact with Jordan, but I am copied with Alicia and his contact back and forth through email. I know that he has been working diligently with Atwell and the property owner to get this site plan, to a place where it can be formally submitted for approval back in March. After asking for months and months, we finally saw a concept plan that I was able to provide some feedback on. And I know it takes a long time to get on an engineer's docket and to begin that work. And so knowing that now we have two options, we know that Atwell has been working diligently on those options for probably several months, knowing that Eagle is also involved. So while I think there's been less communication than I would like about status and a more finite timeline, I do think that in the past few months, the project has substantially moved forward. And I think, when I said no movement, I think it was really what really we should have said is lack of communication. But I do see that there has been progress in the last few months, yes.
And I would point out that the philosophy, until the township tells me something different, the philosophy of code enforcement in Scio Township is to achieve compliance, not necessarily to punish. And so that's, when someone looks and says, why is it taking you 2 years to get to this point? That's why. What we really want is a compliant property, right? So that's what we've been working on. Also, if anyone is curious about who Alicia is, she's my sister who is doing some of the code enforcement work. So if that was like, wait, yeah. So I think you have to keep that in mind, that compliance is the goal. Is revoking the CUP, is moving forward with revoking the CUP tonight going to get you compliance? Is giving an opportunity to maybe work on it, getting you closer to compliance? Possibly for both, I don't know, but I would keep that at the forefront of your brain when you're trying to decide.
And Laura, I have a question for you. Have you ever met the owner?
No.
Has Keith ever met the owner? Excuse me. Trustee Knoll, are you still?
Well, that's fair. Keith, have you ever met the owner?
No, I have not.
Okay, thank you. I'm done.
Okay.
That's okay.
Trustee Reed.
Attorney Siegel, you have quite a challenge here.
I'm sorry, can you speak up, please?
You have quite a challenge here.
I'm a capable attorney.
I hope so. I agree with a lot of what has been said, but I have a question for the board, all of those who are thinking of revoking this CUP. How does revoking the CUP help the township? How does it help the neighbor? Because if you believe Attorney Siegel, the owner could just close the door and walk away, and we have a derelict property with nothing being done on it. Now, I'm sure the neighbor would like that 11-foot wall removed. I would. And I don't know if that's part of the plan, but maybe that's a negotiating point. I don't know. But if we revoke the CUP, I don't think there's any incentive for this owner to move on. And from what Mariah has said and from what Laura has said, there appears to be some movement. It might be snail's pace or what we refer to as a glacial pace, but at least there's some movement. And I would propose that we either table this until the first or second meeting in October and come back with some substantial movement. And if nothing has happened, then maybe we revoke it then. But for me, and I talked with Mariah at the break, for me, this is like a bolt out of the blue. I understand there have been negotiations going on, but to me, it never rose to the fact that we were just thinking about putting them out of business, which theoretically is what revoking this CUP will do, unless, of course, they continue to work as other companies have, according to your story or testimony. Experience, yeah, okay. But I think, but Mariah pointed out that, and I read I've read Laura's tale here, it just goes on and on and on for the last 2 years. And the fact that the owner has not, his business is on the line tonight, and he's not here, or she is not here. I don't understand that. Are they in the foreign country? Are they traveling? I really am flabbergasted that that Mariah, that Keith, none of us have met the owner. That's flabbergasting to me. But I still would be willing to give them 6 weeks, maybe mid-October, come back with some substantial movement. And otherwise, I would say that I am currently not in favor of revoking the CUP, but if nothing happens between now and our second meeting in October, then I would say I would be.
Trustee Reiser.
I assume the owner is an LLC. It's not a he or a she, it's an it. But I don't like the idea of laying off people, of putting a side of business out of business, but I also don't like, frankly, as a former prosecutor, the recalcitrance of someone not to toe the line when we were trying to get him to do that. So I would ask our attorney, and maybe even counsel at the table, whether a consent judgment could include relief that might be cost recovery for our attorney fees in litigating this, for our staff time, and then maybe some relief on impacted adjacent property owners. I'm not saying we're going to do their bidding, but the fair thing might be to try to get some relief for those impacted by the non-compliance with our ordinance in the CUP. The fact that they make these developments, not following the CUP is one thing, and I know that's before us, but it's my understanding there were things built and there were things done that are just, that they couldn't do at all. I don't know if that's also a violation of the COP, but I guess I'm leaning towards a short postponement of the matter, 30 days for another crack at this, knowing that I'm going to vote, if it's not satisfactory, I'm going to vote to revoke the CUP. That's where my vote is on this. But I'm also, I really don't like, I appreciate Mr. Lutz giving me this, And I appreciate Mr. Siegel giving me this, but I really wish I had it last Thursday when our packets came out. And I don't blame you for that, anybody, but damn it, it's nice to have this stuff so we can go over it, mull it over, and ask questions, than have this a dozen pages thrust upon us. So for that reason alone, I'd want to table it, but I want to postpone this for 28 days or whatever. Maybe 14 days, 28 days.
Or 6 weeks. Are you presenting a motion?
No, I'm not presenting a motion because I don't know that everybody's speaking or we're done with this, but I'm in favor of doing that tonight for our councils to work this out if they can. Knowing that I'm going to vote to take away the CUP, as good as an attorney as you are, and as handsome as you are, that's going to be my decision.
The second part of that was untrue. If I might, because there was a specific comment made about potential relief, certainly I think my client and I have discussed the idea of cost recovery, and certainly there is a willingness. The neighboring parties aspect of that, I have not discussed with my client. I'm not saying no, I'm not saying yes. I don't have the authority to agree, and as an attorney, I'm sure you understand.
I appreciate that.
I would like to hear from Mr. Lutz.
So if there is a...
Mike, come on up. Please.
Thank you.
I'd like to just clarify a couple of points. First, there is litigation going. We filed an 11-count claim. The judge didn't like how 5 of the counts were framed. They gave us leave to resubmit, and those counts will be resubmitted before the end of this month. So we didn't lose half the lawsuit or that sort of thing. No matter what, there's 5 counts that they've stipulated that will go forth with litigation. So that's a misrepresentation at best. Again, I ask that you look at their actions, not their words. This change of lawyers is all within the same firm. It's all these strategies to delay this, to delay this, to delay this. We're told in an affidavit in the court case before the judge, the owner made comments that said that the township told him he couldn't clean the road for safety reasons. I would like you to investigate that and see if that's true. The owner and the attorney made representations that they were waiting on Eagle for to review and do this, and Eagle was backed up. I checked with Eagle. I'm going to provide you with this. This is communication from Eagle that they have not done any pre-application work or any application within the last 2 weeks. Okay? So I challenge them. I don't know. So these were the 2 permit specialists that deal with all Scio Township permits. That's who responded. I'm not saying that that's the only person from Eagle that could respond, but it's likely that these people would know and be involved. And I ask you to challenge that. Again, these are delaying tactics that continue to negatively impact me. If you are going to consider delaying this, or if you're going to consider any sort of consent judgment, there's 4 items on the last page that I submitted that are reasonable things that they could do. We've asked them to do those. They flatly refused. Read them. They're easy. They're not expensive. They could make a huge difference. And for the last 28 months, they've refused despite repeated requests. We're going to be going a motion before the judge to ask the judge to require them to do these. But so please dig deeper. There's more to this than is being represented. There's a reason the owner's not here. Okay? There's a reason the owner's not here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Clerk Flintoff, please read the 4 points in.
Sure, this was in the handout. Mr. Lutz didn't have time to finish his statement. This is the rest of his written statement. However, if the board allows this permit to continue, even temporarily, I request it be conditioned on some reasonable immediate actions, including 1, that they stop selling stones and boulders with size greater than 4 inch. If they're allowed to continue to store or use these products, those operations should be moved within 30 days to their west property line, where it would lessen the impact to my property. That 2, they implement a dust treatment program, such as a monthly application of calcium chloride to their gravel traffic and storage areas. 3, they clean up the gravel and material spills on Jackson Road in front of their property and my property weekly or following precipitation or spills. 4, that they instruct their employees and delivery drivers not to slam their tailgates on their dump trucks and trailers, and install signage approved by the township instructing customers and deliveries not to slam their tailgates and to cover their loads before exiting. While I understand the property owner can't guarantee these actions would never occur, reasonable steps should be taken that can reduce the damages now being sustained.
Okay, thank you. I do have a question. How many employees does 8 Point?
I think it's in the neighborhood of 20.
20? And do you know, probably don't know about the tree service?
I'm sorry, the tree service?
Yeah, the same company owns the tree.
No.
They just own the property.
We own the real property.
Okay,
We
never
don't
mind.
own the tenant.
Okay.
I will say that there, with regard to the wall on the abutting the neighboring parcel, if you look at the proposed plan that I attached to my letter, that wall is no longer there. It is planned to be replaced with arbor vitae, with a screening wall of landscaping.
I have a motion.
Yeah.
At some point, I'm going to move to table when I get the look from everybody.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Did I hear? Did you mumble something? Go ahead.
I think I know the answer to this, but I want you to tell me, when was Atwell Engineering engaged? When were they hired?
When were they first hired?
Yes.
That I couldn't tell you. What I could tell you is they were on board when I was retained in roughly April. They had just been retained.
I believe they were retained close to the time that the code enforcement was identified.
As I said, I don't know
I believe
specifically.
they were, so Laura probably has an answer.
She has her hand up. Go ahead, Laura.
Yeah, they were retained in December of 2025.
Yeah, I thought it was earlier than that.
No, that's in my timeline on page 6. Fourth from the bottom, it says Atwell had been contracted to provide a site plan to the township to review.
Because I thought I remembered their representative saying that Atwell had been retained, and that was some 18 months ago. But, okay, that's all I had. Thank you.
Okay, John?
I move that we table consideration of the revocation of CUP number 10 for 8 Point Landscaping until Tuesday. Actually, I'm going to move to postpone, since we know the date certain, to Tuesday, October 20th, 2026. Now,
okay,
and that for our attorney and our planning consultant to engage in negotiations with the property owner and attempt to reach a consent judgment regarding the use of the property. Is that okay?
Friendly amendment?
Call me. Okay.
Friendly amendment first.
Yes.
Yes, support.
The four points, I think those need to be addressed, or is this up to you?
I was going to leave that out. I was going to try not to include it, but.
Put in there that Mariah must be very mean.
No,
No. It's a joke.
I was gonna just keep it like that, just the reason why we're postponing.
And I support.
Second.
Oh,
I second.
Well, trustee Reed, clerk Flintoff already supported.
Oh, she did.
She was
I'm
faster.
sorry.
Yeah. Okay, I guess, well, he's not here. Roll call vote.
Carrie?
Yes.
Yeaple? Absent. Flintoff, yes. Brandt?
No.
Noel?
Yes.
Reed?
Yes.
Riser?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-1.
Thank you.
Thank you.
so much for your service.
Okay. Moving on, Chief, thank you. I have a motion if you want. 03, possible action, consideration of a memorandum of understanding related to the firefighters union contract.
I'd like to make a motion if I could. I'd like to make a motion that the board move into closed session for a strategy session related to the negotiation of a collective bargaining agreement under MCL 15.268 subsection 1C.
I'll support.
Just for clarity, this is a different closed session than the one that's scheduled at the end of the meeting?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
This requires a roll call vote.
Yep.
Carrie?
Yes.
Yeaple?
Yes.
Flintoff, yes. Brandt?
Yes.
Noel?
Yes.
Reed?
Yes.
Riser?
Yes.
Motion adopted 7-0. The board is now in closed session at 9:59 PM. We will be leaving this room. The public is welcome to stay here, and we will return to open session here.
Yeah, you can have it. Yeah, I have it. Right.
Sorry.
I move we come out of closed session.
It's already happened. And we voted.
Yeah.
We didn't do it in recording. It
It's-
wasn't recorded.
Yeah, for the record, there was a motion by Reed, support by Flintoff, to return to open session with a voice vote affirming.
Okay.
And I have a motion to direct Chief Hood, Attorney Thacker, and HR Manager Moore to proceed as discussed in closed session.
I'll support.
Aye.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes 7-0.
Good night.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chief. Thank you, Juanita.
Okay. Well, next item at 10:22. A possible action discussion of recommendation from the Multimodal Transportation Committee. Treasurer Yeaple, you created this agenda item. Would you like to?
Yep, thank you. As I discussed earlier in the meeting, so I'm going to keep it relatively brief. Kathy Jaskevitz is here from the committee, and I'd like to invite her up. I'll keep it relatively brief. The committee has a quarterly report as requested, or I guess required by its charge, rather. That's here. As I mentioned earlier, it's available printed. I also emailed it to the board over the weekend. Apologies, I'll work with the committee and see if we can, in the future, get it in before the board deadline. But really, the committee's gone over quite a bit of information. The written report speaks the best to it. I'm happy to answer individual questions. The biggest summation of the report, and really what it says, is that the committee recommends to continue to support the extension of the purchase of service agreement for the next fiscal year, 26-27. That's WAVE and our area transit agencies or authorities, fiscal year, not ours, at the current service levels provided by both AAATA and WAVE. And happy to answer questions, go over more information, but want to keep it brief, given the hour. Thanks.
There's no model motion with your discussion. Oh, great. No, it's possible action.
It's listed as possible action. I mean, I would offer up the motion of, just to accept or not just, but to accept the committee's quarterly report and to accept the committee's conclusion to continue the support of the extension of the purchase of service agreement.
I just had some questions when the time was right.
Yeah. Go ahead, Quintel.
Sure, thank you. I want to thank the entire committee for your work. You've met 18 times. That's a lot of work, and I appreciate it a lot. I know David and Ryan are serving from the board, Kathy, others from the community, so thank you. I see the recommendation to continue the POSA for FY 26-27. And Ryan, in that is the recommendation, or Ryan and David, is the recommendation to keep the service levels and split of those services the same?
Yes.
Okay. And then what is your thought, even if there's not a recommendation at this time from the committee about FY 27-28 forward? What are some of the thoughts without any, clear, I know there's no firm recommendation on when we might put something on the ballot? If we have to put something on the ballot.
Well, I thought we talked about this a couple meetings ago, and I think Ryan wanted to do it 27, so that it would be available in 28.
Well, I mean, there's the question of, is there going to be an election in 2027? I don't, unless you know the answer, Clerk Flintoff, I don't.
Well, only if the Scio Township Board calls for a special election. I mean, another taxing unit, if another unit calls for a special election, we don't share the costs. If we call for it, we pay for it, even if another taxing unit also calls for one.
I guess one initial question that the committee had, and I hadn't had a chance, and I know with you, and I sort of work at a bunch of different things. Do you know, is it a possibility to put it on the presidential primary? From just a legal standpoint, I don't know. We know that.
That's a great question. I need to look that up.
Okay.
I think, I'm looking at David, I have a vague memory. I need to double check that. I believe that's happened before, but I need to check that. Well, it is a special election. So legally, it's a special election, and it's a special election, by the state. So
A couple of years ago, we had a presidential primary where we had 3 different ballots. And now we have it all, presidential primary is all on one ballot, in 2 columns. But we actually had 3, red, blue, and green.
Yeah.
And green was independent, but I believe each one of those did have a ballot proposal at the end.
yeah,
But that was a long time ago, things could have changed.
Ryan, that's an interesting question. I will say, from a voter turnout point of view, 28 is always better than 27. Presidential primary, I believe it's going to be set for, I believe it's going to be the end of February again. They were eyeing February 22nd. So it would be early, and so ballots would get out in December of 27 and would proceed. But then there's also August 28 and November 28.
I thought they were changing August to May, or there was talk of it.
There,
Possibly.
yeah, and that hasn't been enacted yet.
No.
If it would be in odd years, that would change to May. But in even years, it would stay in August.
Jessica, to answer your question, I think the only solution for this is an increase in millage, and I guess it's up to us to decide when we do that.
Yeah, and I would be interested too in kind of the scope. I know last time we did it, we had a committee work on it. Certainly costs have just skyrocketed since then, and we just did a renewal and kept the exact same language. I would be interested in asking the committee if they would be prepared to look at the actual millage language to see if it needs to be changed at all, and also think about what level it needs to actually be to sustain us, and what period of time. Maybe it's 6 years. Maybe we can't project out 10 years for something like this.
Okay.
Actually, we do have projections from both AATA and WAVE. I think, Ryan, we have like a 10-year projection from AATA, don't we? We got that about 3 months ago, 4 months ago?
Yeah, I'm hesitant on that simply because they do not have a contract still. They do not have a labor contract with their employees still.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know.
Okay.
I would like more information before I rely on that more significantly. I'm hearing third party that they will hopefully have a contract soon. So.
I think before we decide anything, we need to get something in writing from both providers, at least 5, if not 10 years.
Yep, agree.
That was our mistake last
Yes,
time.
big mistake.
I prefer these types of items go on a work session where we can have in-depth conversations and more information.
Sure.
So this is a possible action, but a discussion item, and so where are we going with this?
I thought a motion had been made and supported.
A support of, what was the motion again?
There's a motion by Yapel. I don't believe it'd been supported. At least I didn't hear that. Okay?
Support.
A motion by Yapel, support by Reed to accept the Scio Multimodal Transit Committee Quarterly Report, August 20th, 2026.
And which includes the continuing of service at its current level through September 30th of 27.
Yep.
Okay, so that's the important part.
And then Ryan or David, would one of you take responsibility for bringing that proposed contract to the board when they present it to us? Okay, thank you.
All right, so we have a motion on the table, we have support, I guess roll call, or voice vote? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion passes 7-0. Okay.
Thank you.
K1.
Thanks,
Yeah,
Kathy.
thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you,
everyone, for all
Kathy,
your
yes.
help, all your hard work.
I just realized we have another closed session.
We do.
All right, K1, payment of the bills. This was pulled from consent by trustee Knoll.
Yep, I've got to find my notes here. So I had a question, straightforward question. It's on page 8 of my packet, which was an earlier version of the packet. But it's really a question for you, Jessica.
Sure.
Under accounting and finance.
Sure.
There's this, it's a $2,590 payment to Nikki Timmons.
Yes.
And I wanted to get more information on that, if you can give it.
Absolutely. First of all, I apologize because under our policy, not under law, but under our policy, that name should be redacted. So as you know, I was out of town and broke my ankle, so I didn't get a chance to review this before it was posted. But this is all what I can speak to is the employee health reimbursement. You'll see that a lot in our payment of the bills. That's in compliance with our employee handbook. As you know, we've long provided reimbursement for qualified dental, vision, and hearing costs instead of providing health insurance because it's cheaper for us. And it's up to a certain amount each year for qualified expenses. And so provided that everything is properly submitted and documented and in compliance with that policy, it's paid out. And so this is in compliance with all of that.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. And I can't remember the exact amount. I can get you the amount, but that and then also our retiree medical reimbursements are similar. It's by our own policy. So that's why you see some of those payments to individuals.
That policy doesn't cover elected officials though, right?
It does. The employee, again, we need to include our handbook, but we need to do the handbook updates that Bill Thacker recommended we do in December. And to kind of clarify that, but for purposes of the handbook, generally speaking, the supervisor, treasurer, and clerk are afforded the same benefits that regular employees are. Trustees are afforded the retirement and life insurance. But again, all of that needs to be looked at. That was one of the recommendations we'd gotten from Aurora in December of 2025.
Okay. Moving on to K6, Mill Creek, and
could I ask for a motion to approve the claims for payment of August 26th and to receive the prior check run report?
Support.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. On to K6, Mill Creek.
Thank you.
Trustee, no, somebody, who pulled this?
Brandt.
Oh, Trustee Brandt?
I believe.
Was it
Yes.
correct? Okay,
I did.
go ahead.
And I'm looking for some information I had. Yeah, I have watched these parks meetings, so I'm familiar with the concept. Sorry, I'm looking for, okay. So what the capital improvement plan for this item says it's medium priority, and it says this project would include the installation of a small pedestrian bridge over the portion of Mill Creek that borders Sloan Preserve. The bridge would provide safe and reliable access to currently inaccessible areas and address site observation showing repeated disturbance of the creek bed. This states that this is, the project is optional as it is not required for safety, compliance, or core operations. The priority level is medium, although not urgent. Timely installation would help limit continued ecological disturbance. Like I said, I did watch these meetings, and there seems to be difference of opinion on how many people actually use this small island. When it was presented in June, it was presented as the reason for the size, which is 10 feet wide by 60 feet long, steel beam construction, was the reason presented was that a larger bridge of this size would prevent the need for some eagle permits. And then at the last meeting, that statement was retracted and said, no, that's not what the reason for the size. It still requires some eagle permitting, but that was a different angle on this project. There was also questions about the amount of money for the engineering. It's just under $30,000. And there was discussion about we should do the engineering now because inevitably costs are going up. And that if we do the engineering now, that even 10 years from now, we could put this bridge in. I don't think that I don't think it matches what the narrative is in the capital improvement plan. A small pedestrian bridge. This has now become 10 feet wide, and the stated reason is to get equipment across to this small island. And let's rush this because we're saying that engineering costs are going to go up. Well, I don't think that's a valid reflection of paying money in advance, even up to 10 years in advance. I don't see the public benefit for doing that. This project looks like it got bigger than it was ever intended. It's a lot of money for engineering. And there were feedback from some Parks Committee members that they did not understand. Was this a reasonable amount of money for engineering? And someone said yes. I don't think it's a reasonable amount of money for engineering. This thing is very expensive, projected at $150,000. It's medium priority, it's optional. I don't think we should proceed with doing engineering now. I think we should evaluate this project again, maybe in the next fiscal year.
Okay.
May I?
Well, yeah, I did sit in one of those meetings, and it was Roy Townsend that recommended, well, he supported this as far as engineering, because engineering is expensive. And this, from what I understood or remembered, is that this project started a long time, or the idea of the project started a long time ago, even before Anna Cohn or around that time. So it's been there for a while. And I don't know how, as far as how many people visit the island, how could they if they have to walk through the creek? So of course there's going to be low. Anyways, that's all I'm going to say. I guess Treasurer Yapel, do you have anything?
I mean, I'd agree to what Trustee Reed said earlier this evening and move to table this so we can get to our other agenda items and discuss this when the hour isn't so late, but okay.
I don't remember. I said table. Okay.
I
Go
believe
ahead.
that's what David said earlier this evening, correct?
I want Trustee Clerk Flintoff. Yes, it's late. Go ahead.
Sure. Yeah, I just have a question, not how many people go to the island, but how many people go to Sloan Preserve would be a question I have. And
A couple times a year.
Thank you for that data point, John. And so I'm wondering, I mean, because I think it's it's not used very much. It was a medium priority. It's not, I like the idea of a pedestrian footbridge, but I think generally with parks, we have so many different projects happening in so many different of our parks and preserves. I want to hear more about the focus and implementation and kind of finishing some of these. And I know we had a special meeting on parks last summer to kind of talk about priorities, and I'm wondering if it might be a good idea for us to have another one, especially if the pros plan is something we're going to be working on. I think you mentioned that, David. So I would also say if it's $30,000 in design and engineering, what is the estimated construction in the CIP, Kathleen?
150,000.
150,000 last spring when we did it. And so I'm just questioning the wisdom of using taxpayer funds for a bridge to an island nobody goes, at least not lawfully, or they might tromp across the water. But very few people go to the Sloan Preserve. And then I would just have a question too about why we're doing a 10-foot wide, 60-foot prefabricated bridge. Not being an engineer, admittedly, that also sounds kind of ugly. I know in a lot of our preserves, we've taken great care to do things that, are boardwalks and things, and I assume that's just not possible for this. And I had a question, and I appreciate, David, you may have the answer to this. guidelines for pedestrian bridge construction, including the American Association of State Highway Transportation Officials. For all of the OHM proposals I have read here at this board table, I don't ever remember that group being cited. And so my question is, why is that group being cited? Is that the standard that's used for our pathways normally? It is, Ryan?
It's
Okay.
in the Zebra pathway documents as well.
Okay, so
ASHTO's like a professional
American
engineering.
Association.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you. So that's just something I don't remember, but I'm noticing here. So this is something that complies. So I'm wondering why it's 10 feet. We have all of our pathways at 8 feet. It seems expensive for a low-use area, and I'd like to better understand what the focus is and kind of achieve our high priorities before getting spread so thin to the medium ones. Thank you.
Okay, Murphy is on the line. She had her hand up.
I promoted her to panelist, so.
She can certainly, I was going to explain it, but I'll let Murphy explain it.
Okay, Trustee Knoll, and then we'll have Murphy come on at the end.
Okay. I want to hear from Murphy, so I'm fine.
Okay, and Trustee Reed, do you want to?
Well, I guess define the word small. A small pedestrian bridge. Are we talking about one of those little rope bridges that you walk across a river on in Brazil? Or are we talking about what turns out to be actually an 8-foot wide bridge? It has to be 10 feet because of the railing and the supports, but it's actually only 8 feet wide. And the reason why it's 60 feet long is because it has to stay out of the river. Because we could build a much shorter bridge, but we'd have to put the supports in the river or in the stream. And then we'd have to go with hydrology studies, and then they'd probably, even after that, they'd probably tell us we have to stay out of the stream. And the hydrology studies, according to Roy, who I think has built one of these two things in his 30-year career, said those hydrology studies would be in the neighborhood of $25,000 to $30,000, and we probably still have to build a 60-foot bridge. So this is not a major, huge bridge. It's only 8 feet wide. County standards, I think Roy said county standards are 14 feet usable, 16 feet wide. So this is half the size of a county bridge. So I would call that small. And right now, I've heard people say nobody ever uses Sloan Preserve. Every time I've been to Sloan Preserve, and it's not every week, but every time I've been there, there's been at least 2 cars. The pathways that I've walked are well worn. They're not overgrown. And I don't know if I'm not sure if the NATs go out there and clear it, but there's a heck of a lot of foot traffic that keeps those paths really clear. And some paths that aren't supposed to be paths are really clear. So to me, there's a lot of traffic. And to say there's no traffic to the island, yeah, there is no traffic to the island because the only way to get there is to ford the stream. And some of the people who do that take rocks and put the rocks out so they don't get their shoes wet, which of course they probably do anyway, but then they take a chance of slipping and falling, and there's a lawsuit. So I would say that, there's a saying, if you build it, they will come. That we had the same pushback from what I call the boo birds regarding the zebra pathway. They were saying, no one will ever use it, no one will ever use it. I don't know a day or an hour that goes by when I don't see people walking on the zebra pathway, even though it still doesn't lead to the border to border. So that bridge will allow access for legal access for people to get to the isolated area of the Sloan Preserve, and it will allow the NATs to go over there with the equipment, because it's 8 feet wide. They can get the equipment over there to actually install the pathways, or the trails that will make that island usable. It was mentioned at the Parks Committee meeting that one of the members didn't think the bridge had to be that wide because the NATs could take weed whips over there and clear the paths every couple of weeks or whatever. That to me is not reasonable. It's not doable. I have a mile of trails on my property which I clear mow about every 10 days, and it takes me 2 hours to do that, and I would not want to do that with a weed whip. Now, we won't have 2 miles or a mile of trails on that island. We might only have a quarter of a mile or half a mile, but you can't do that with a weed whip. You got to be able to go over there with a tractor, with our toolkit, I think it's called. And also we'll need heavy equipment if a tree comes down, or if, God forbid, we get oak wilt out there. That would be a whole nother situation. But, so this bridge is part of the plan. This is our Parks Director has recommended this. She is our director, I think, our Parks Director, and I think we need to give her the respect that position holds. And if this is what she thinks that we need in Sloan Preserve to continue to expand its services, plus the fact with, is it Heritage Woods? That's at the corner of Baker and Marshall? Is that Heritage Woods? Is that what it's called?
Yes.
There's lots of people going to be moving in there soon. Not all of them are going to be disabled. Not all of them are going to be old like me. And a lot of them are going to want to walk. And we have right across the street from Heritage Woods, we just bought 75, 78 acres that touches Sloan. And we expect to bring trails from Davenport, what used to be called Davenport. It's now, I forget the name of it, but Mill Creek Park Nature Preserve. That actually now touches Sloan, so that will be connected to Sloan, so people will come from Heritage Woods without having to drive. We don't need a parking lot there necessarily. They'll be able to walk across Marshall Road and walk up into Sloan, and this will expand the usability of Sloan to that significant portion of Scio Township's population. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Trustee Reiser, do you have anything?
So it's, parks and pathways. And it's gonna be $150,000 for a 60-foot pathway. Maybe. I mean, you got the engineering and you got the bridge. And it is pretty remote out there, to Clerk Flintoff's point. I'm okay tabling this. I don't know. It's a lot of money for a little bit of bridge that is very pretty there, but I don't know. I don't know if it's much prettier on the island as it is on the mainland.
Right. And if you had a bridge, you'd be
Yeah,
able to walk
yeah,
over
I
there.
can see the damn island. So it's not it's just a creek, but I don't know.
Well, okay.
I yield.
Okay, thank you. Director Murphy, Parks Director Murphy is online.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Murphy. Oh, so I'll just dive right in. I think that a lot of what David pointed out is along the same lines as the justification that I would have provided for this project. One important point of clarification is that at no point have I ever stated that we should try to go around Eagle permits or alter our project to allow us to not have to get Eagle permits. The place that this bridge would be placed is a sensitive ecological area. It is a wetland. And what we learned through the Zeeb Road Phase 5, because of the bridge going over the Huron River, is that when you get within a certain distance of the bank, or if you attempt to build in the river itself, it becomes exorbitantly more expensive as well as more time consuming. So this proposal just allows us we still have to get a lot of Eagle permits for this project. It just allows us to not have to go through the process of actually altering the riverbed or the banks. And one of the reasons that the cost of the design and engineering is so expensive, and I would agree with Roy, it's still, in terms of design and engineering, this is still not costly. But the elevated cost is due to, again, the sensitive nature of the space. We always are going to incur more costs when it comes to a riverbed or a creek or any kind of wetland. So, and I'm not really sure where the narrative has come from that Sloan is somehow remote or unused. I would argue that it's actually one of our more utilized preserves, despite, that in terms of ecology, it it leaves a lot to it's lacking a lot. And we have other preserves that have better trail systems, but people love going to Sloan because of the river feature. There has not been a time that I've gone out there where I haven't seen at least one vehicle, and most of the time the parking lot is at least half filled. And I actually have in the past received a lot of feedback from frequent users of Sloan for recommendations and alerting me when there's issues on the trail. So just going forward, I think it's important to note that it is actually very heavily trafficked. And this project, I think, is really interesting and unique, not only because you're able to access a feature that right now very few people can unless they want to take the risk of going through the river. Oh, sorry, tired. This was also in the pros plan before I started here. It's outlined that we want to find a way to connect people to this island. It's about 8.5 acres right now. And it's not just about having the trails out there. We would like to put in like tables for picnicking. We already know that people from Trout Unlimited utilize the preserve, and then this would also give them more areas to go fishing and to access different parts of the river more safely and without causing more ecological disturbance to the riverbanks. And in terms of its remoteness and its utilization right now, of course, it's low. It's not easy to get there, but it's also very overgrown with reed canary grass and other invasives that, as stewards of a piece of land, what happens on those parcels directly impacts our neighbors and people down the river. And right now, we are really limited in what we can do. So I feel like it's partially our responsibility to do what we can to manage that space a little bit better. And with the bridge being, it is 10 feet wide, but 8 feet wide in terms of like actual walking, driving space. It's in alignment with our current Zebra Road pathway boardwalks. So if you picture that, it's kind of similar in that way. Yes. So I think I've addressed the questions, but please let me know if there is additional information that you'd like.
Oh, Murphy, I have a question. How many members on the committee voted for this and against it?
There were 6 in favor and 1 not in favor.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, and with the statement about the cost going up every year, that's just a statement of common sense. Like, we know that the longer a project is put off, the more expensive it becomes. And it's not a matter of trying to rush through anything. It's more that this is outlaid for our capital plan for next year. And in order to complete the project in the timeline that was outlined and approved, the engineering obviously has to come first. And because it's going to be such a complicated project because of the river and the wetland, we need more time so that we can still comply with the outlined timeline.
Okay, thank you. Clerk Flintoff, you had a question?
Sure. Thank you for your work on this, Murphy. I'm noting under task 2 in OHM's proposal, I mean, the 30,000 is for preliminary engineering, but they note that because of the complexities of dealing with the floodplain, I know there's a lot of water, so it makes it complex. They said at that point, they're going to pause the design at this stage and evaluate if the chosen site continues to be the preferred location, as any infringement on the floodway may trigger a FEMA conditional letter of map revision and/or a letter of map revision. These processes carry a wide range of effort expenditures. and as such, an updated proposal will be provided at this stage to complete the project prior to moving forward with the final pedestrian bridge design. A preliminary opinion of probable cost will be provided at this stage for the preferred location bridge. So am I to understand that the 30,000 is for the preliminary design, and then later after task 2, there'll be a proposal for final design?
Yes.
Okay, and has OHM kind of on the back of a napkin given a sense of what that might, if these are triggered, kind of what's involved there? Do you have any sense, David or Murphy?
Yes. So back when we did the budgeting and then the capital plan, this was all considered in that $150,000 that was anticipated and estimated for the project. So this is still just part of what we had anticipated. We know that there's always a possibility because we have to consider the site conditions as they change, and this is not an area that has been particularly well monitored. So we don't really know how the water levels fluctuate in this specific spot, because it is really odd the way that the way that the river kind of splits over there. It does create like a wetland area, and that's kind of the area that's the more difficult spot to know for sure how it changes from season or year to year and season to season. So of course, there's always the potential that there's something that we can't anticipate until we see it. And that's just a normal part of when you're dealing with a river and dealing with any kind of body of water that fluctuates.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
I have a comment, if I may.
Go ahead.
This board has to realize that when dealing with parks, you have there is no certainty this will cost exactly $10,565. Because when you go out there, when you're dealing with land, when you're dealing with water, when you're dealing with river and wetlands, things get complicated. And if we don't want to have complications, then we shouldn't be buying parks and preserves. They are complicated. And we have to accept that it's complicated, and we have to accept that there's going to be expenses. This board has to actually understand that a parks department is not predictable. I shouldn't say not predictable, but it's complicated. And we have to accept the fact if we're going to have parks, these are the types of complexities we're going to have to deal with. And if we don't want to deal with them, then we shouldn't have parks.
Okay, thank you. Well, I'd like to present this model motion to approve up to $30,000 from GL 208-751-821 for the professional engineering services provided by OHM for the Mill Creek Bridge at Sloan Preserve. Is there support?
Support.
Roll call?
Yes, please.
Carrie?
Yes.
Yeaple?
No.
Flintoff? No. Brandt?
No.
Noel?
Yes.
Reed?
Yes.
Riser?
Yes, I'm sorry.
Motion passes 4-3.
Thank you.
Great.
Okay.
Thank you, Murphy.
Thank you, Murphy. On to 06. Possible closed session under MCL 15.268H to consider material exempt from discussion or disclosure by state or federal statute. The board may go into closed session by 2/3 majority vote. There's nothing else with this.
I'd like to make a motion if I could, to go into closed session under MCL 15.268 subsection H to consider material exempt from discussion or disclosure by state or federal statute.
Support.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Oh, yeah,
Okay, so
that's
roll
right.
call, please.
Yes.
Carrie?
Yes.
Yeaple?
Yes.
Flintoff? Yes. Brandt?
Yes.
Noel?
Yes.
Reed?
Yes.
Riser?
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0. The board is now in closed session at 11:03 p.m. We'll return to this room to open session.
Okay.
Gotta be really long.
We are now back in open session. I don't even know what time it is. 11:42.
I'd like to make a motion to return to open session.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. All right, now is time for public comments. This is time for the members of the public to speak to the Board of Trustees for up to 5 minutes on any matter. Please come to the table.
May I make a motion first?
Oh.
Yeah.
Motion for-
I would just.
Sorry. I
Sorry.
jumped the.
I would like to make, regarding 06, I would like to make a motion to direct the committee to proceed as discussed in closed session.
Support.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0. Yep. Okay, hi.
Hi. Caroline Altamar, Scio resident. Kathleen, I wanted to thank you for your very well-researched and pointed questions of the attorney of the 8-point situation. I really appreciated your comments. I thought that they were spot on. I would like to point out that an audience member in their public comments at the last meeting advocated for addressing the board as a whole, then specifically called out the supervisor in the same public comment. I don't understand why she gets to address the supervisor and I don't get to address Ryan. I also don't understand why it's okay for a certain audience member to call out when a commenter is addressing a board member. I find it interesting that said audience member may be a part of the governing body next year. Does that mean I get to call out during public comment in board meetings? Sauce for the goose. Lastly, it's a mystery for me. It's a mystery of the cosmos as to just why this meeting room cannot be cooled. We had to open doors to cool it week in and week out, never solved. Gelman recordings, any idea when those might be up? Weeks?
Kathy just asked Christy.
I know, I'm just kidding. Are we talking like a week or?
Christy, how long do you think it might take?
Roughly.
Well, I trained Belush on how to do it, but
So-
you have to create the meetings in Peak, which we're not gonna do that.
I
So
can help.
we've gotta
Work
put links
around.
out and,
Yeah, you just.
So maybe a week or so?
yeah.
They'll be up? Okay, good. Because I had to miss part of that, but I really wanted to
Okay.
catch
We
up
just
on that.
found out tonight, so we'll get.
Yeah.
No, I understand that. I just was trying to see if it was going to be like a week or 2 weeks or a month.
Yeah.
Okay.
No,
Okay.
we're just add it to the list, we'll get it done.
All right, thank you. Thank you.
Oh, you're finished.
I'm done, yeah.
Thank you, Caroline.
Pat Stein, longtime resident. I want to address my comment to most of the board members. Kathy, Trustee Knoll, David Reed, John Reiser, Treasurer Yepo, Clerk Flintoff, Kathleen Brandt. I want you to know how much I appreciate your experience and your education and what you bring to this board. I don't always agree or understand some of your discussions or some of your decisions, but you are appreciated. As far as the comment that the supervisor made earlier, where she commented that there are no rules that say the board, the public is to address the whole board. And no, you are not part of that. So there is no such rule, says you. I'm assuming I'm correct in quoting you. I might be off a little bit, but you said there is no rule. Well, I'm basing all my comments on past practice, on times where a person in public comment was addressing someone other than the whole board, and they were told, just a reminder, you need to address the board. Okay. That was something the supervisor herself did last meeting. She reminded me that I was to address the entire board. So now she's saying that you're not required to address the whole board. So which is it? Past practice has been residents are not to criticize other residents during public comments. Is that no longer true? I'm not saying it was a rule, but it certainly has been past practice. So the supervisor tells me 2 weeks ago, Pat, just a reminder, you are to address your comments to the entire board. Today, she says, there's no rule, she's not any part of that. So how are we to respond? Is this also saying, you no longer have to, you're no longer restricted from criticizing other residents? I'm like, does everything go now? You know, I mean, is it okay to target board members? We can sit here and say anything we want to board members. And keeping in mind, there is freedom of speech, but there's also a fine line between freedom of speech and harassment. And the comments, one after another, sometimes by the same resident, targeting particular board members. How is that not harassment? I don't expect you to answer because we have a process and you can answer after board response if you care to, but I just want you to think about that. Does everything go? We are now, because the supervisor says so, we are now able to target board members. We do not have to address all of you. But on the subject of the supervisor, there were 2 speeches made tonight, kind of self-serving, self-centered speeches. I don't understand where they applied to the board business, but it certainly was a time-consuming, verbose presentation. I don't understand the reason for that. I don't understand the expected outcome, but it was a waste of everyone's time because the people that are here have heard the rants again and again and again. And the new people, well, I think you just came off as a, crazy lady. So, and on that note, thank you all.
Thank you.
Rob Pattinson, Scio Township resident. I'd like to echo Caroline's compliment of you, Kathleen. You nailed the 8-point issues spot on. Thank you very much for that. John and David, I understood where you were trying to go to encourage them to come into compliance without going straight to revocation. But 2.5 years of playing games seems extreme already, but I understood where you were coming from. Ryan, in your opening response, you said something to the effect of there were checks dispersed or something about the $300,000 getting that back from the DDA. Could you clarify that and let us know whether or not did Scio Township get the $300,000 back for the DDA or not? Kathleen, in my opening comments, I asked you a question. I didn't ask you if you pulled K6 from consent before the meeting. I asked you if you let the person with the most information about the parks know you were going to pull it. It's common courtesy to give a heads up so they can attend and be ready to clarify issues. Fortunately, Murphy was here and could clarify issues that worked out. But that wasn't the question I asked you. And now you've called me a misogynist as well as MAGA. And you're going to have a real hard time making that stick after I spent 4 years being one of Jessica's strongest supporters. And after the history that you and I have together of a long-term friendship, that calling me a misogynist, I think, is offensive. And then you talked about the fact that you could be heard on the recording. I have the best possible system for being on Zoom for the meetings because I stream the Zoom meetings to the TV so that my 96-year-old mother can hear the meetings. And I had the volume turned all the way up, and even I couldn't hear your side of the conversation on Zoom. That's why I made a point of it at that meeting. Employee who's quit number 13, we lost Nikki. We haven't had a finance director for 3 months, and now she's quit. Do we know why? Do we have any information about what happened there? And could we please have a report on that? And then, Jessica, during your reports, figuring out how to charge for FOIA doesn't do anything to change the decision that you've made to stop filling FOIAs. There are as I understand it from Renee Smallwood, she's got 144 appeals. And that's for, I'm guessing, maybe 30 or 40, maybe 50 original FOIAs. But the issue is we're constantly having to appeal, including me, to get the FOIAs filled that we've asked for. Words were used tonight about charging up to the dais to yell at a trustee and about throwing chairs. I was 3 feet from the throwing chairs incident. The person who threw the chairs walked by and pushed over chairs with her finger. There were no thrown chairs. And then during public comments, this same person is saying, "Is this the business of the board?" Interrupting. And then she's cueing Pat to say foul. So this is a person who is eventually, I imagine, going to be on that side of the trustees' table. I have a real problem with someone being willing to weaponize the facts of what has happened to make them so extreme for their agenda, and then they're willing to interrupt public comments and interfere with other people's public comments. And this is a person who's running for trustee. I have a real problem with someone who's willing to do that as a resident now, who is eventually going to be an elected official. That is a severe lack of ethical behavior. Thank you.
Thanks, Rob. Thanks, Rob. All right, there's a hand up.
Okay. Paula Gloverson, go ahead, please.
Yeah, just a comment. I had read over the minutes and I noticed that my only partial of what my comment was published. Maybe that was for my protection, but maybe for someone else's. But I was wondering when Mary Gillis will be up on the dais. That's it. That's a question.
If she's elected. She may not. She may not.
Okay, it's Paula's turn, or is that it?
That's it.
Oh, okay, thank you, Paula.
Thanks, Paula. Is there anyone else that would like to speak at public comment? Please raise your Zoom hand. There are no hands raised.
Okay, board member response? I have none.
To answer your question, Paula.
I'm
sorry.
Sorry, I have my
Apologies.
Treasurer Gable, anything?
Thanks, Rob. The checks are going to be cut to go to the county. The county has not formally voted yet to release any funds. So there's that. The other question, Paula, the general election has to happen in November. The state legislature, with the very few bills they managed to pass this year, also changed that township officials take office December the 1st.
Yep. And I have a clarifying question for you, Paula. What minutes are you referring? Are you referring to the minutes we just adopted tonight, Paula? Paula, you referenced a comment that you said wasn't properly reflected in the minutes. Were those the minutes from the last meeting?
Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry, Paula. Oh, Paula, that was
Yeah,
terrible.
I was muted.
That was my bad.
It was when I asked the Supervisor Carey to respond to a question and something I had noticed in her different video comments over the last 6 months.
Okay, I just didn't know if you were flagging an error.
No, it wasn't an error, it was a omission.
Okay, thank you, Paula.
Yeah, thank you.
And I will just again say, this characterization of stopping filling FOIAs, there's several people working on them. And certainly it's a misrepresentation to say that. So thank you.
All right, trustee Brandt, do you have anything?
Yeah, the people throwing the apples about interrupt constantly. just for the record. Thanks.
Okay, trustee Noel, do you have anything?
No.
Trustee Reed?
No comment.
Trustee Reiser?
Nope, Ryan covered it.
Okay, is there a motion to adjourn at 11:58?
Seven.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We're
Let's go
adjourned.
recess, 5 minutes.
Yeah, why not?
Take it into the next
Have fun,
phase.